And this is Good Morning Kenya. Among the stories in the news this morning, Azimio la Umoja vows to carry on with its planned protest in Nairobi against the government and families of victims of Shakahola to wait a little longer to receive DNA tests. Those and more coming up in the news. So first things first, let's get the news. Now, President William Ruto has reached out to workers and labor unions to work with the government in building the economy. Speaking at Labor Day celebrations, the head of state spelled out new policies in the government was implementing in the labor sector, including enhanced adoption of remuneration policy that will be responsive to the cost of living.
President William Ruto presided over the national celebrations of the 58th Labor Day held at Uhuru Gardens, imploring workers and their unions to work with the government in growing the economy.
Hawa wafanyikazi waliowachagua, pia hawa wafanyikazi wamenichagua. So we share the employer. Nyinyi mmechaguliwa na hawa na mimi pia nimechaguliwa na hawa. Sisi wote ni wafanyikazi ya wananchi wa taifa la Kenya. Tushirikiane.
The president said the government was developing a remuneration policy that will harmonize salaries of public workers with those of private sector.
Tuondoe tofauti ambayo iko kati ya wafanyikazi wa umma, wafanyikazi wa private sector. We must harmonize how we treat all our workers.
Labour Cabinet Secretary Florence Bore explained that under the new policy, the determination of wages will take into account the productivity of workers.
This policy champions a fair, equitable and dynamic mechanism for determination and compensation of wages to all workers in the country that takes into account all necessary parameters, including productivity indices.
The president also rooted for increased statutory deductions such as pension, adding that the National Hospital Insurance Fund contribution will be raised from 500 shillings to 2.5% of the employee's income.
Yule ambaye mlikuwa mnalipa kwa NHIF shilingi 500, sasa tutateremsha chini ikuje shilingi 300 kwa wale mmekuwa mkilipa shilingi 500. Kuanzia mwezi wa 7 tukikamilisha budget, na mimi ambaye ni rais ambaye nimekuwa nishikilipa shilingi 1000, sasa mimi nitalipa shilingi 27,500, na hao wengine katikati hapo watalipalipa hapo kidogo kidogo namna hiyo.
On implementation of such reductions, the Federation of Kenya Employers, however, called for prior talks with the government and a grace period for planning.
We therefore ask that before any changes are made, new changes, enough lead time, we are proposing 1 year, be given to businesses to be able to plan, to adjust their budgets and restructure their financial flows.
Even as the president steered off the clamor for minimum wage increment, the employers had pleaded that the economy was still battered, with COTU boss Francis Atwoli accusing the Salary and Remuneration Commission of overstepping its mandate.
There is another animal which has lived with us, Your Excellency, and this one you must also close your eyes and deal with it. This animal called SRC. That they want to negotiate, they want to decide on CBAs. CBAs are freely negotiated between workers and employers.
Now, President William Ruto has warned the opposition against destruction of business and during the anti-government protest planned for today. Speaking while leading the country in marking the 58th Labor Day celebrations, the president said he will not allow destruction of property or loss of lives, instead calling on the opposition to embrace the bipartisan talks. This comes as Central Organization of Trade Unions Secretary General, that is Francis Atwoli, urging the workers to shun the protests.
The Labor Day celebration marked at the Uhuru Gardens Monday had its fair share of political theatrics that majorly touched on revived anti-government protest by the opposition slated for Tuesday. With the theme being Kenyan workers for economic growth, political stability and job creation, the tempo for the occasion seems set. The event's host, Central Organization Trade Union Secretary General Francis Atwoli, previously an ardent supporter of Azimio, explaining his change of political stance.
Na sisi tulikuwa na AK-47, tulikuwa na pistols, tulikuwa na uwezo, na tulikuwa na ukapita kwa sisi na wewe ukuwa na hizo vitu. Sasa, what makes us think atukienda kwa streets kwa maandamano, we will change the status quo?
He urged the opposition to shelve the demos, saying that will not change the status quo.
There are other situations that are irreversible. Mambo ya Mungu. Na yakisha fanyika, you accept it. Juzi umeappoint mkubwa wa majeshi. Uliappoint Inspector General. Umeappoint cabinet. Mtu kukutoa ni shida, atakutana na bunduki mbali sana. So let's not dwell on impossibilities, things that cannot happen.
While discouraging workers from participating in the protest, Atwoli urged the government to reach out to the opposition to reduce the tension in the country. A call that Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua threw back at Atwoli, terming the opposition leaders as his close allies.
Waandalie chakula na ile vitu mlikuwa mnakunywa na hawa na ile muziki ya Lingala. Mukishamaliza uambie maneno ya kwamba uchaguzi uliisha na rais wa Kenya ni William Samoei.
President William Ruto did not mince his words, warning opposition leaders against disrupting livelihoods and destroying property while exercising their constitutional right to picket.
We also know what democracy looks like. We also know what human rights are. It is nothing to do with violence. It is nothing to do with anarchy.
The president advised opposition leaders to embrace the proposed bipartisan talks instead of the protest.
Sitaruhusu mali ya mwananchi kuharibiwa, biashara ya mwananchi kuharibika, kazi ya mwananchi kuharibika, watoto wetu ati wasiende shule, ati kwa sababu kuna watu wanataka kutulazimisha ati tugawane serikali. That one will not happen.
Azimio has so far issued a notice to Nairobi County Regional Police Commander Adamson Bungei for the demos on Tuesday. The plan by the opposition to resume its anti-government demonstrations on Tuesday is an indication that they are not satisfied with the bipartisan talks. However, the president has warned against destruction of property. Kamche Menza at Uhuru Gardens, Nairobi.
Menza for that report. Now, the government is on course to reduce the cost of living as it rolls out a series of interventions to navigate the current economic challenges. President William Ruto, during his May Day address to the country, says economic recovery is gradual.
Hundreds of Kenyans braced light morning showers to attend this year's Labor Day celebrations, a day set aside to honor and celebrate the contribution of workers in national building. Labor Day has a unique history dating back to 1st of May 1886, when trade unions in the United States of America decided to go on strike demanding 8 hours of work per day to shelve the remaining 8 for recreation and 8 for resting. In celebrating the day, melodious tunes rent the air at Uhuru Gardens, venue for the national celebrations. Different groups of workers displayed their tools of trade, elaborately explained through an array of colorful banners of all kinds. Point praised workers for their tireless efforts while calling for unity in nation building.
Hongera wafanyikazi na Wakenya wazalendo, na wapongeza kwa wazi, mmekuja kwa mtindo, msichoke chapa kazi.
The Vitimbi comedy group performed the skit befitting the day.
Ndio boya, umepatiwa ofisi dakika 2 na sasa umeanza kutugaragaza.
Wesikisa. Umetuchokesha hapa wewe hata uchandikwa na kitu. In fact leo unagaa smart.
Waanza kuniangalia.
Kotu Secretary General Francis Atwoli tickled the crowd with a peep into his personal life.
Mimi sio kijana hata kama mnaona Mary bibi yangu ni myangu. Mary kazi yake kwangu ni kuangalia socks nimevaa namna gani, shati yangu iko sawa sawa, saa ya kumeza dawa ikifika ni saa ngapi, yeye anaweka hiyo diary. Because tukiandika mtu mwingine tuseme ni personal assistant atatuibia.
Archbishop Arthur Kitunga seemed to have read the workers' hunger for better wages and made a supplication on their behalf.
Mulango mpya unafunguka na malaika wa amani wanatumwa kutoka juu mbinguni washuke katika Kenya mpaka Kenya ishangae. Tunawaombea hata wale wanatuona kwa media na watu wote tuseme amen. Amen.
But now the government and the opposition are locked in an impasse over an impending fresh round of mass demonstrations set for today. On Monday, Deputy Inspector General of Police, that is Nur Gabo, declared the planned Azimio protest unlawful, even as opposition chief, that is Raila Odinga, insisted the march is on. And as Zainab Said reports, the two sides, that is, appear headed on a collision caused with Azimio on one hand, insisting that it must deliver its petitions, while the police, on the other hand, maintaining they will stop the march to avert destruction of property.
A day after Nairobi Regional Police Commander Adamson Bungei outlawed Tuesday's planned demos, Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of administration Nur Gabo has maintained that Azimio has no authority to continue with its planned march. Gabo warned that the government will not allow any form of demos in the country, arguing that it poses a grave threat to national security. But the opposition is adamant that the police have no authority to outlaw their right to picket and petition the government. Raila Odinga is calling on his supporters to heed the call and insisted that Tuesday's march will be peaceful. Previous demos by the opposition have been met with resistance from the police, who have on every occasion restricted the opposition's march to sections of the capital city.
There will be no destruction of people's properties. People have been told to be peaceful. They're not even going to go to where people's places are. We're not going to markets. We're not going to shops. We say we are going to assemble at the Central Park in the city of Nairobi and march to the IBC headquarters and present a petition there. March to the office of the president along Uhuru Highway and present a petition. And also go to the treasury buildings. There are no businesses along those streets. So therefore, nobody should come up with the excuse that they are going to protect people's properties tomorrow.
Raila Odinga has in the meantime weighed on the unfolding events in Shakahola, Kilifi County, saying it is only Parliament with the advice of the Judicial Service Commission that can establish a tribunal to investigate the incident.
Thank you, Zainab Said, for that report. Now, Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki on Monday launched the commencement of the autopsies for the 110 bodies of victims of the controversial pastor Paul Mackenzie's cultic teachings. Kindiki said it would take 1 week for the exercise to be complete, but it will take relatives of the victims more than 1 month to know the identification or the identities of the bodies through DNA.
The post-mortem examination exercise led by Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Odwor, assisted by detectives from the Homicide Unit of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and forensic experts, among others.
We only managed to do 10 postmortems. Of these 10 postmortems, the one body was of an adult female, and the rest were children. These children's ages were varying from 1.5 years to 10 years.
Addressing journalists at the Malindi Sub-County Hospital mortuary, Professor Kindiki urged members of the public to be patient as the government embarks on the process to establish the truth about the Shakahola massacre.
The team here assures the people of Kenya that we don't expect to take more than 1 week to be able to discharge examination of all the 110 bodies which are in this mortuary.
When you look at the body, they were starved as the rest. However, when you look at the fingernails, they were bluish. When you see bluish fingernails, it's an indication that this person, when he or she died, was not getting enough oxygen into the body.
Kindiki adding that the government had resorted to using modern technology to conduct the rescue and recovery operation in the 800-acre piece of land. The Interior CS named Assistant Inspector General of Police Peter Ndungu as the operation commander, supported by the Regional Police Commander.
Action that must be taken against any public officer whose inaction, failure, or outright negligence could have caused the deaths that have occurred on our people.
The Church and the Clergy Association of Kenya, in the meantime, calling for the implementation of the proper regulations of the churches in Kenya to weed out cults that pose as churches.
We want to advise the government not to deal with a few individuals, but consult widely. There are several umbrella bodies in this country, so they should involve all the leaders of all umbrella bodies, but not a few, because that will divide us. We will support a process that is inclusive.
The association is urging that proper structures be put in place to restore order in the churches and speedy investigations be conducted to bring culprits to justice.
Now, motorists plying the Narok-Mai-Mahiu highway have decried huge losses following the closure of the busy road on Sunday by the Kenya National Highway Authority. The decision was reached after the road developed cracks a few kilometers from Mai-Mahiu town. The motorists have now called on Kenha to construct flyovers along the busy highway to avert further losses.
The operators, led by Narok Line Service Chairman Andrew Mwangi, said they made over 400,000 shillings in losses on Sunday alone, as all the vehicles that operate the route kept off the highway.
Jana tulipoteza 1,400. Sasa leo hatujui tutapoteza nini. Juu sasa magari ya kunywa diesel, magari ya bebi abiria. Hivi sasa saa hii kutoka Narok, kazi iko chini sana juu watu wengi wanajua wakija hapa either walale ama warudi tena. Kwa hivyo usafiri uko chini sana.
Kutafuta gari ya kutupeleka pale Mai-Mahiu imekuwa ni shida. Wasafiri wengi wenye wanatumia hii barabara saizi wanateseka sana. Manake kwenye wanatumia huko ni wanaingia huko reserve, na huko kumeharibika sana juu ya mvua kubwa yenye inaendelea kunyesha.
Hata kama ni kazi ya boda, saizi hata abiria ashuke awekwe na gari hapa. Kwenye unamzungusha inabidi umzungushe zaidi ya kilomita 10 na kumuitisha hiyo pesa tena ni bara.
The drivers who have now been forced to use a diversion as they approach Mai-Mahiu town called on the Kenya National Highway Authority to construct flyovers along the busy highway.
Hii mtaro hata sasa wakichimba na waweke mawe ni kazi ya bure. Ile kitu ingetakiwa ni watengeneze daraja kama mita 50 kutoka mita 100 kutoka pande ile ingine na pande ingine, hii barabara ipite juu. Ule miaka ingine iliyopita hapa tu bado wanatengeneza, hapo tu ndio waliweka mawe na hapo tu ndio bado imepasuka.
Kenha has advised motorists to use Narok Kisiriri Mau Summit Njoro Road to join Nakuru and other destinations, and Narok Bomet Kaplong Road and connect to Kaplong Kericho Road.
Now let's head to Kisumu, where more families in Nyando and Kadibo areas of Kisumu County will have to spend the nights in the cold due to floods after River Nyando bursts its banks, following heavy rains being experienced in different parts of the country. The number of households affected has risen from 1,500 on Sunday to 4,500. Tilia Marco reports.
The flood situation is getting worse by the day in Nyando and Kadibo areas of Kisumu County, as long as rains continue pounding the area. More families are being displaced even as they counted losses on their acres of rice, maize, sugarcane and other crops that are now submerged by water. At Ombaka in Nyando sub-county, hundreds of residents are stranded along the road with the little household items they could salvage as they pondered their next move. St. John Nyamasao Primary School, Ombaka Dispensary and Ogenya Primary School are some of the institutions submerged in water. The situation is not different at Ogenya in Kadibo sub-county, where several homes have been marooned by floods. Kisumu Acting County Commissioner Hussein Alason Hussein, who led the County Disaster Management Committee team to assess the impact of the floods, said evacuation centers have been established at Ombaka and Ogenya to house the affected victims as efforts to get humanitarian assistance continue. He urged all those in the affected areas to move to safer grounds to avert loss of lives.
We have established an evacuation camp at Ombaka. There are people now there, and more people are still coming. We have sent out an appeal for emergency support, either food and non-food items, both to the national and county government, and we're expecting assistance as from tomorrow. We have also alerted the National Disaster Response Center, and it's our hope that the affected families will soon get support.
Kisumu County Director of Public Health Liliana Dayo said medical personnel have been dispatched to the affected areas to control spread of malaria and waterborne diseases.
That story by Tilio Marco brings us to a fast break of the bulletin. We'll be back with more, including sports.
Season's finalists clash head-to-head.
Comes here to Halfworth! That's excellent, and Werner's finish!
A chance for Leipzig to save their season.
It is for Freiburg!
It's Willi Orban! Freiburg's second semi-final in a row. Who will get to the final? Freiburg out for revenge against Leipzig.
Why are you here? Long time no see.
My God.
Everyone, I officially announce, as of today, Larry has been promoted to the position of General Manager. Welcome!
How come you're here?
Remember I said I would take the interview? So now you know that I'm diviner.
And you?
How pathetic that two bachelors know each other so well. So, before our relationship gets too awkward, I'm going to leave.
Welcome back now to the counties where residents from Machaka Informal Settlement in Buri, Meru County, have expressed reservations with the government housing project in their area. The residents say despite the project being a noble idea, they will not be able to afford the houses. Elsewhere, Embu residents have decried high water tariffs following a move by the Water Regulatory Authority to implement a section of the Act that was passed in 2021. This and more stories coming up in in our continuous roundup.
Machaka slums in Buri, Meru County. Residents say they would love to see the area undergo a facelift, but the cost involved in the acquisition of new houses is too much for them. They called on the government to relook into the affordable housing program.
Sasa sina nguvu ya kutafuta pesa, ninalala njaa, nitapata pesa ya nyumba au nitapata pesa ya chakula. Tunakataa nyumba. Tunasema hiyo manyumba wanataka kutujengea, wapange hiyo pesa, waweke mzuri, watutafutie bahali pa kukaa.
Meanwhile, tension is high in Kinanduba village at the border of Meru and Isiolo counties following the killing of a former MCA by suspected bandits. In Naivasha, Nakuru County, residents of Lakeview Estate are appealing to the government to beef up security following a spike in criminal activities in the area.
Hali ya usalama imekuwa ikitutatiza kwa miezi kadhaa sasa. Nasikia manyumba imevujwa na sasa hata ile kitu ya kuchagaza sana ni kwamba inaonekana hata mchana ndio wanapendelea sana kwa sababu nyumba nyingi hivi karibuni zimevujwa wakati wa mchana.
Finally, Embu residents have decried high water tariffs following a move by the Water Regulatory Authority to implement a section of the Act that was passed in 2021. They say the increment of the tariffs from 50 cents to 5 shillings per cubic meter of water is not affordable with the current economic challenges.
Na sasa nasikia pesa ya maji imeongezeka na 600%. 900%. That is not acceptable. Kwa sababu sheria inaweka kinagaubaga kwamba kitu yoyote ambayo inaguza maisha ya wananchi lazima ifanyiwe kitu inaitwa public participation.
To sports now, where Football Kenya Federation Premier League matches will resume today with one match on the card. 2009 champions, that is Sofapaka FC, will target to gather maximum points when they face host Vihiga Bullets at Bukungu Stadium.
Vihiga Bullets coach Luis Kizito is confident that his side will not be relegated at the end of the Football Kenya Federation Premier League season, despite their miserable run. Vihiga Bullets will host Sofapaka FC Tuesday at Bukungu Stadium. Vihiga's charges are last on the log with 8 points, while David Zouma's side are 13th on the log with 28 points. On Wednesday, AFC Leopards will play Ulinzi Stars, Nzoia Sugar host Talanta FC, Police will be up against Bidco United, Homeboys will tackle Wazito, while KCB face Bandari FC. For Channel 1 Sports, I'm Sila Onyango.
Thank you, Sela, for that report. Now, Bandari have sacked coach Anthony Modo Kimani following the 3-0 Mozart Cup defeat suffered in the hands of AC Leopards at the Kasarani Stadium. His time at the coastal-based club comes to an end after 2 years and 2 months of service. Bandari Chief Executive Officer, that is Edward Odwor, confirmed that the axe had fallen on the former Kenyan international, with veteran tactician Twahir Muhideen taking charge in the remaining matches in the current campaign, that is. The former Harambee Stars defender joined Bandari in February 2021 to deputize Rwandese tactician Andre Kasambungo, whom he had worked with at AFC Leopards. Bandari are 19 points behind Football Kenya Federation leaders Gor Mahia. Federation leaders Gor Mahia. Overall, emerged the overall gross champion of the second edition of the Karen Ladies Open held at the Karen Golf Club and Country Club. The tournament brought together over 200 top lady golfers from across the country. Let's get the details. Ladies Open held at the Karen Golf Club and Country Club.
They garnered 78 gross on count back, beating Karen's Louisa Gitau, who came in second.
Agnes Nyakeo came in third with 79 gross. In the Division A net category, Wayua Mululu emerged top with 72 net, beating Naomi Kimata on count back. Rachel Ndei came in third with 74 net, beating Dorcas Balanya on count back. Meanwhile, Nyawira Masharia was the star among the juniors with 75 net.
And we believe that through this sponsorship, we will be able to help support women golfers to showcase their skill, as well as inspire the next generation of golfers. So we do recognize the importance of supporting women's golf in Kenya.
The tournament brought together over 200 top lady golfers from across the country.
So we do recognize the importance of supporting women's golf in Kenya.
The tournament brought together over
A two-time Africa Cup of Nations Under-17 champions, Nigeria bagged maximum points after a 1-0 win over Zambia and at the 2023 Under-17 AFCON in Constantine, Algeria. Meanwhile, Morocco also registered a win after a 2-0 victory over South Africa in the Group B, OPNA. Let's get the details of that. Meanwhile, Morocco
Favor Daniel gave Nigeria the lead in the 76th minute after both teams missed open chances in the first half, forcing a goalless half-time draw.
The ball breaks in the air, it calls for a handball, and there's the opening goal for Nigeria. Daniel finally breaks the deadlock.
The goal was enough to give Nigeria, who are this year's title favourite, all 3 points. In another match, Morocco also registered a win after 2-0 victory over South Africa in Group B opener.
Yes! It's perfect, and it's 1-0 Morocco. And still hope to equalize, even if Amani crossed the ball. Oh my God, what an error! And the second goal for Morocco now.
Morocco will take on Golden Eagles on Wednesday in their second Group B game. Meanwhile, defender Saline Fall volleyed home 12 minutes to time as Senegal registered 1-0 victory over Congo.
Few yards out, giving Senegal a deserved victory, really. After all the chances they created, it ended up being a centre-back who provided, giving Senegal a deserved victory, really.
Now, Stephen Curry ensured reigning NBA champions Golden State Warriors avoided an early playoff exit with masterclass in the series decider at the Sacramento Kings. Curry hit a playoff, a career high 50 points as his side won 120 to 100.
Opening round playoff series. Beautiful pass. Draymond Green to Kevon Looney. And they get on the board first. Kevin Huerter knocks down a three.
The Kings, who were making their postseason appearance in 17 years and had the benefit of a home crowd, led 58-56 at halftime with Domantas Sabonis scoring 16 points.
Jumper for Harrison Barnes. Looney and Curry play catch. Curry, that's his first three.
But the third quarter belonged to the Warriors, and once again Curry scored 5 points in a row to put them 69-62 up with 7 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. They seized control and never let it go.
And that's what Steve Kerr was talking about.
Box searching. Now jump shot. That's it.
Curry was devastating with 7 3-pointers in his tally, but Kevon Looney, Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson also played their parts in the win.
Momentarily and flipped it in off the glass. Curry finds Draymond Green, runs and finishes.
The Warriors will face LeBron James' LA Lakers in the Western Conference semifinals.
Box lines that one up. Nails a three-pointer. Curry, long distance. That's good.
Western Conference semifinals.
Well, and that story brings us to the end of the news this morning, but not before I give you some updates on what will be happening with EPL, where Leicester and Everton played last night and they drew 2-2. So today we expect Liverpool versus Fulham at 10 p.m, Man City versus West Ham also. That is tomorrow's matches at 10 p.m. That is Man City versus West Ham. But today we also have Chelsea playing versus Arsenal. And I know that Victor is actually a fan of Arsenal. But Victor, I'm not so sure whether I'm not really a fan of football in as much as, you know.
Football is concerned. We're still in the race.
I did get to follow that. Is Arsenal losing?
Yeah. We're still in the race. Matches we have Man City is ahead of us just by 1 point.
Really?
Yes, they are at 76, Arsenal is at 75, but we still have got a couple of games to go. So the race is still on, and Mikel Arteta said very well that this is the nicest point of his season for Arsenal to win the league. So it's not yet over. I mean, anything can happen. If we lost actually we drew 3 matches in a row.
Okay.
That really gave us a serious beating. I don't know which team Mheshimiwa Ruku supports here. Mheshimiwa, welcome. We are talking football here.
Thank you so much.
You support Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester City?
Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of football.
Come on. Okay.
I normally see people enjoying matches.
Yes.
I rarely do. I only watch World Cup at the finals.
Yeah.
So I'm not really a fan. But my boys are very good fans of football.
Okay. So you're a fan by association then?
Yeah. One of them is a very good footballer.
Yeah.
Patrick Dogo. He has participated in within the region. And his aspiration is to be a footballer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the house, I have.
So you and Marie, you're not football fans. All right.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mheshimiwa is not, because there are times when you watch football, I know. Like for me, World Cup is, Africa
World
Cup
Cup
of
is a
Nations.
world event.
But those are the ones, those are small ones, so we don't really.
No.
Yeah, I watch World Cup only.
Okay, so we're waiting for another
and
round.
Especially when we have many African
teams playing. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right,
So
Marie,
thank you so much, Victor. And to our viewers, well, it's time for me to sign off for now. Victor will be taking you through people and politics this morning. Mheshimiwa is already in the studio. So thank you so much. We'll be following up for you news on the Azimio protest. We also have the Shakahola story still developing. So we'll be bringing you details of that in our subsequent bulletins. So thank you so much for taking the time to start your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Maria Mboho. To see you again tomorrow, God willing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marie, for that. Now let's take a look at what we have on our front pages. And of course, just to let you know that we have Mheshimiwa Ruko already in studio, and we also expect Deputy Governor of Siaya County, that is CPA William Odol, who will be joining us shortly in studio. But right about now, let me take you through the front page of our local dailies. Let me start with the standard here. Workers go home empty-handed amid protest talk. Workers go home empty-handed amid protest talk. Employees expected the government to focus on the high cost of living and probably get a pay rise. But speaker after speaker took their time to rail at the opposition over planned demonstrations today. That happened yesterday during the Labor Day celebrations. How Githunguri is guarding his billions in debt. That is former Member of Parliament Stanley Githunguri, and lots of family issues there. According to Murathe, still on the front page, cost of living likely to sink Ruto government. That is according to Murathe, cost of living likely to sink Ruto government. Chaos at Sudan port as locals flee. That is still happening in Sudan. And talk of my big team. Will Arsenal sing blues at the Emirates? That will be happening tonight. What a decider. All right, inside Mackenzie's doomsday teachings, something that has been dotting our headlines for the last couple of weeks now. Using the Bible, pastor made claims that border on hearsay, but his congregation grew, and that started years ago, and now the police and the entire government is concerned about his teaching and the issue therein. Okay. When we talk about what the president said, Ruto wants against demos, Raila wants vows to push on with protests. That is what is happening today. The president said that the opposition should give dialogue a chance. Raila accused Ruto of attempting to undermine the constitution by trying to prevent planned peaceful protest. Mheshimiwa Ruku, let me just bring you in at this particular point. Let's talk about what's here on the standard. Ruto warns against demos, and Raila vows to push on with protesters. But the question is, who is now on the right side? The other day, President said that he'll not bow down to pressure. He's extended that olive branch to Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, and here now we have got protests resuming today. Your take?
Raila Odinga is a man who has thrived on chaos all through his political career. And I think it is the high time we deal with the radical type of politics in this country once and for all. I am sure now, it is now or never, that we have to change the regime of politics of Raila Odinga in this country, because he has been chaotic. One day of demonstration costs this country a lot of income which can go to improving our infrastructure, improving our schools, improving our hospitals. The election of 2022 was peaceful, and the power was handed over at Kasarani in a very peaceful manner, witnessed by different presidents across the group and different high commissions and ambassadors from different countries across the world. The reasons why Raila is coming back several months after general elections, claiming that he won, is just to try and thrive, just to try and see whether he can twist the government to be part of the government. Article 1 of the Constitution clearly states how the country should be governed, where the sovereignty of the people of Kenya rise, and it rise on the democratically elected representatives.
Yes.
And these representatives are in the counties, in the county assemblies. Sorry.
Okay, right.
sorry.
Okay, let me just take it that we'll get you a glass of water as we continue with that. All right, that happens. All right, that happens a lot. Okay, I will continue with that. Just also let you know that we expect the Principal Secretary for Correctional Services, that is Mary Muthoni Muriuki, to give a press conference, a press briefing at office at Teleposta Towers late this morning. Once we get that link, we'll bring it live to you here on KBC Channel 1. All right.
I think now I'm okay.
Okay, very good.
Sorry.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
No, that's called occupational hazard.
I apologize for that. I think I was saying the Article 1 of the Constitution clearly that the sovereignty of the people of Kenya is exercised through the elected representative in a democratic manner. This happened in August 2022. And Raila is not one of them.
Yes.
And therefore, he can only exercise the sovereignty or whatever you want to be done through the elected representatives. And that's why the President of Kenya, William Ruto, suggested that we have a discourse in Parliament. And Raila accepted because he recognizes that clause of the Constitution.
Yeah.
So why is coming back to say that he wants to go back to demonstrations? You can't choose the prayers. You've just talked about football now. You can't choose the prayers of the other team. Therefore, Kenya Kwanza coalition 400 the prayers for negotiations.
Okay.
Raila Odinga Azimio 400 the prayers for negotiations. What has happened after that?
That is the question, because Raila says that perhaps the whole issue has been watered down by politicians. The request and the prayers from Azimio are not yet taken care of, and that is why, according to Raila Odinga, the talks will continue. Yes, the bipartisan talks will continue. On the other side, the protest will also go on. But the question is, who is now speaking the truth? Because we don't know the real details of really what happened. Somebody would argue that the other side, according to Raila Odinga and his team, that they were taken for a ride and somebody was trying to buy time.
When we say that Raila has been playing conmanship politics all through, not only this time but also in the past, it's the truth, it's the real thing. Raila has been, playing that type of politics which we call conmanship, and with the aim of more or less extorting money from the government and extorting positions,
which we cannot authenticate. Which we cannot authenticate.
It is true, but I can tell you, because you have said that you don't know where the truth lies. We are in the street of politics every single day.
Yes.
And I can assure you, Raila Odinga was given money by Uhuru Kenyatta.
Which you
huge
cannot
amount of money.
Authenticate.
As well as the other time,
yes,
during Kibaki government, the same happened. What Kenya Kwanza and what William Ruto have said is that this has to come to an end. Once you rule fairly and squarely and in a fair manner, please go and wait for the next general election. Go and put your house in order so that you can be able to win the next general elections.
Okay, all right.
I'm telling you, if Raila Odinga was to be at the moment going around the country trying to pinpoint the flaws or the weaknesses of Kenya Kwanza government, probably he would win in the next general election. But the style which is using at the moment, it is clearly demonstrate that to those who did not vote him, they were extremely right. And in 2027, more will not vote him.
But allow me to play the devil's advocate. Kenya Kwanza cannot decide for what Azimio should be doing, not Raila Odinga, but Azimio Brigade, what kind of politics and how they should be playing it. They are playing it as opposition, and that is their style, as well as government playing their role as government.
Azimio, or the leaders in Azimio, these are the kind of leaders who believe in themselves, that they are in this position for themselves, for their families, not for the sake of Kenyans. Why? I can demonstrate it.
On the other side,
I can demonstrate it.
Yes.
They are in position of power. When nominations come to Parliament, nominating members of Parliament in East Africa Legislative Assembly, Raila Odinga nominates the daughter, Kalonzo Musyoka nominates the son. Does it mean there are no other capable Kenyans who can take...
Where's the problem with that?
Of course there's a problem, because once you are in a position of privilege of leadership, we should hold hand of other people, other talented Kenyans, to be in a space where they can express their talent, where they can express their capacity, in terms of leadership. Also, they can grow. They can grow, and their strength can be manifested within the boundaries of this country or within different platforms, so that they can be of use in this country and in this world.
All right.
Why is it that Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, they only look inward to themselves?
Let me take you through another page. We still have got more time. Mheshimiwa, thank you for staying with us. Why workers failed to get any pay hike during Labor Day celebration? Businesses argued that any wage increment would add to the many challenges firms are facing and hinder job creation. Employees had hoped not just for a minimum wage increase, but general increase that would cover all that. Okay. The issue of minimum wage still taking center stage during Labor Day. But before we continue, Mheshimiwa, let's cross over and listen to what the Principal Secretary for Correctional Services, Mary Modoni, is saying at the particular hour. Let's cross over to Telepost Towers.
Able to do quite a bit. So, members of the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the State Department for Correctional Services. Let me say from the onset that I was filled with immense pleasure and gratitude when I received my appointment and when I knew that I was coming to serve Correctional Services. Correctional Services Unit has a name for security and again social aspect, and even with my background, I was happy to venture into the same. The opportunity to serve the people of Kenya in this capacity is one can see. I can't move alone, and I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, and the Commander-in-Chief of the Defence Forces for entrusting me with this responsibility and for the unwavering support. Reflecting on the transformative agenda, as the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Correctional Services, I can say that the experience has been both challenging and, again, rewarding. We are in the Ministry of Interior. We have received from my the 5 main points that we have from the ministry that we have hived off our activities. I'm excited to be part of a team that is committed to transforming the correctional system in Kenya. To better understand the sector and its needs, I have visited most of the correctional institutions within the State Department, that is 76 prisons and 4 probation institutions, and to visit the remaining ones in the next 135 prisons in the country and 9 probation centers. And this is to further generate partnership opportunities and gain first-hand knowledge of the unique strengths and problems being experienced by our various correctional services institutions for effective future planning. We have also held consultative meetings with various stakeholders, including officers from the prison and probation services, governors, education institutions, NGOs, private sector, foundations, financial institutions. These meetings were aimed at aligning the to improve the correctional services in Kenya and implement the mandate of the in Order Number 1 of 2023 on reorganization government. As we move forward, we are confident that with the support of my team and stakeholders, we can achieve our goals of transforming the correctional system into one that is focused on reform and rehabilitation and producing industrious members of the society. We reaffirm our correctional institution domiciled institutions.
All right. That is Principal Secretary for Correctional Services, Mary Mudhoni, there giving her press briefing at her office at the Teleposta Towers. She said that she is endeavoring to visit all the 35 prisons and correctional facilities across the country, as well as she's also sought partnership with various stakeholders for effective function and planning for the future of such facilities, as well as they've had meetings with various stakeholders, including governors, correctional facility officers, as well as other NGOs, to strengthen and basically give the best to members of the public who are in those correctional facilities across the country. All right, let's take a break, and we come back. We'll also continue with our headlines here, as well as with the discussion with Mheshimiwa Ruku already in studio. Just to remind you, we also invited Deputy Governor of Siaya County, CPA William Oduor. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Why are you here? Long time no see.
My God. Everyone, I officially announce, as of today, Larry has been promoted to the position of General Manager. Welcome!
How come you're here?
Remember I said I would take the interview? So now you know that I'm diviner.
And you?
How pathetic that two bachelors know each other so well. So, before our relationship gets too awkward, I'm going to leave.
FM Gigosi, Kitut FM Gigosi, 98.0 Kitut FM Gigosin.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Okay, before we took a break, there was that press briefing by PS Correctional Facilities, Mary Mudhoni, and of course we'll get you more details in our subsequent bulletins later on in the day, lunchtime news, and as well as 7 and 9 p.m. bulletins. So stay with us. All right. In studio, I still have Geoffrey Ruku, who is the Member of Parliament of Mbeere North constituency. Mheshimiwa, let's talk about the issue of wage bill, which is very important. Why workers fail to get any pay hike during Labor Day? Remember, former President Uhuru Kenyatta alluded to the fact that there should be some sort of a wage bill way back last year, but that never happened. Yesterday, a majority of Kenyans really expected to get some good news from the government, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, because our country is experiencing a debt crisis, where the previous regime went in a spree of borrowing many different types of loans, from Eurobond to loans from China government and other government across the world, and loans from World Bank and IMF, as well as other multilateral financial institutions. And these are very expensive loans, which are attracting about 15% interest, and 15% interest of billions of dollars is huge amount of money. And the problem is that the majority of these loans are maturing almost at the same time. So we, as a nation, we are in a debt crisis, where all the income which we are getting from different sources, from taxes, from our tourism sector, and other income, most of it is going to payment of debts. We are not able to finance our recurrent expenditure as well as our development projects as a nation. And it has happened in the past whereby the country or the nation, the government is not able to finance the recurrent expenditure, then it goes to borrowing. We can't borrow to pay our day-to-day expenditure. We can only borrow to implement developmental projects which have an impact to the economy. And that is the policy or the stand which the president and the government has taken, that we are not going to borrow money so that we can finance our recurrent expenditure. So the recurrent expenditure is going to be financed from our own internal sources, and those internal sources are the ones which are completely constrained by these debts. So that's why the government is not able to give any increment in salary.
Okay.
And I think it's a fair thing for the Kenyans to understand that we are in a difficult situation economically or financially as a nation, but it's just for a short while, and we'll be able to come out of this hole.
Okay. All right. Let me take you through the front page of the People Daily newspaper. Here, protest on, warns Raila. Protests on, warns Raila. No, they aren't, says the police. No, they aren't, say police. With a fresh round of demos set to begin today, Azimio bosses say that they do not need permit to present petitions. But President Ruto and security agencies vow to stop them. That is what's on the front page of the People Daily. Why cost of land in Nairobi has jumped to record high. For people who are aspiring to be landowners in Nairobi, this is a story for you. 58th Labor Day celebrations. Kenyans signed to jobs deals with 20 countries. Ruto pledges, of course, that happened yesterday during the Labor Day celebration, which was attended by President William Ruto and Kotu Sekjen Francis Atwoli. Kenya pursues deal to export labor overseas. President William Ruto says that he has lobbied with foreign nations to get opportunities for Kenyans. This happens. The president said that he recently lobbied for opportunities for Kenyans working in Germany, and the agreement to this effect will soon be signed. And he said, let me quote, that many countries are saying that they want Kenyan workers. I was in Germany, and the chancellor will be in the country on Thursday. During that meeting, we agreed that we will sign a bilateral labor agreement so that Kenyans can get opportunities, because they have told us they require 250 million workers annually. Now, this perhaps should be some good news for Kenyans. When we have the chancellor here on Thursday, I think that should be something to talk about. Workers to pay 2.7% to NHIF in Ruto's proposal. Proposed changes will see those employed by varying rates depending on individual income. Moving on, mass protests. Ruto and Raila play hardball. Azimio and the government have dug in their heels, setting stage for confrontation between protesters and police. Yesterday, Raila said that the issue of nobody should have weapons and the police should not stop them. But let me just ask you this question, Mheshimiwa. Where should the rights meet? Because the protesters have a right, the government have a right. Where do these rights meet? Because everybody is pulling on their side.
The Constitution of Kenya has different articles. And these articles are given, they come to effect through Act of Parliament and through different regulations which are passed in Parliament. This morning, after the show, I'm forwarding a bill, maandamano bill, to the Speaker of the National Assembly. A bill which, if enacted by Parliament, it will regulate how maandamano and demonstrations will be carried in this country, to give an effect to Article 37 of the Constitution. Because this is the article where the Azimio are trying to hide behind, saying that the Constitution is clear in terms of the right of picketing, demonstration, and things like that. But the same article says clearly that you should go to a demonstration completely unarmed, and you should not prevent the right of other people to do their business or to carry their day-to-day activities, to block traffic and issues like that. So the proposed maandamano bill will give the rights of members of public to enjoy the natural environment, and also give the right of person to carry on business. So if you will be organizing demonstration in this country, demonstrations which are preventing the other person to carry out their day-to-day activities in the normal way, just like other days, then those demonstrations will be illegal, and the law will have sanctions on you.
So that is a proposal to...
This is a proposal which I am making. I'm calling it Maandamano Bill 2023, which I'm forwarding to Parliament this morning. And we'll take through the process of lawmaking in the House. And if it passes all the stages of lawmaking in Parliament, and the President sign it, it becomes law. And therefore, we will change the terrain, whatever is happening at the moment.
It's quite interesting, Mheshimiwa, that we are talking about Maandamano and you're proposing a bill to curtail or to streamline or to clip.
It's not to clip. It's to give effect.
So what is
Article 37
of the... So what is the details? What are some of the details of that bill that you're proposing?
It's quite elaborate.
Okay.
It has about 20 sections.
Pointers?
Okay. One, which is very very important. If you look at section 19, the proposed section 19 of this
because it's interesting that
it is whereby
the
section of powers of police.
Okay.
At the moment, the police are curtailed by Article 37 because Article 37 has not been given the effect, has not been properly interpreted through an act of Parliament. We have to give the police powers to use their arms when they analyze the situation and think this guy is going beyond the remit of the other person, the rights of the other person. In United States of America, there's a law called Stand My Ground, Stand Your Ground. And if you go beyond, if you trespass to someone's property, to someone's business, that person has the right to shoot you and kill you. So what you're proposing in this Maandamano bill is that the police have the right to assess the situation and use force, use their tools of trade, which is firearm.
That is far-fetched.
What is
that is far-fetched.
No.
That is far-fetched, Mheshimiwa, because the Constitution also provides for a local mwananchi.
You cannot organize
picketing and demonstrations.
You cannot organize demonstrations which are going to go in the streets of Nairobi and start stoning, destroying shops of people who are doing their businesses in a peaceful manner. That kind of person is not a demonstrator. That kind of person is not the person who is envisaged by Article 37 of our Constitution. The owner or the police have the right to restrain that person.
But not to kill.
By using force. And it is upon the police to determine the extent to which they can use force. So if we have someone who wants to ban your business, if you have someone who wants to ban your vehicle, because they have failed to organize demonstration in a peaceful manner, then the police have the right to see what kind of force I'm supposed to use.
Okay.
And sincerely speaking, someone who is banning a vehicle, the police need to shoot down such kind of a person.
All right. That is part of the proposal.
We have to streamline the way of we conduct ourselves in this country.
All right.
We have to deal with Odinga type of politics once and for all.
Okay. We're waiting to see whether how that proposal will go on the floor of the House. I mean, okay, talk of heavy rains. Heavy rains leave scores of Kisumu residents homeless. This has been happening all the years during rainy season. Households were forced to spend the night in the cold after River Nyando burst its banks following a heavy downpour, flooding homes and those that are affected. Of course, audit falls, flood response strategies. And of course, they said that the special audit covers 5 years from July 2017 to June 2022 and focused on the flood-prone catchment areas spread across 6 counties. That happened, and again, residents of Kiamunyi Estate in Nakuru County actually woke up to some, gaping hole in that particular region, and of course that has also rendered part of the road that is Maimahiu Narok route not possible at this particular point. And finally, curtains come down on schools' drama festival and film festival. Surprises at 61st annual schools and colleges festival, creative festival, despite president's wide berth. And of course, it was after 2 years after the corona pandemic that ravaged the country, and now schools came out and showcased their festival. Next year's will be in Nyeri County. There you have it. And let me take you through the front page of the Star newspaper. Defiant Azimio dares Ruto as cops ban demos. Defiant Azimio dares Ruto as cops ban demo. Raila says that protest to start at 6 a.m. Intends to present 4 petitions. Tough-talking president vows to protect property. And that is exactly what you're saying there in that proposal, Mheshimiwa, that the proposal is meant to protect property. Yes. But either way, the kind of protest that we should naturally should be peaceful. And at some point during past demonstrations, the other side of Azimio said that, you know, it was largely peaceful until they had a confrontation with the police somewhere in Embakasi or Eastlands, when the police lobbed tear gas, and, you know, members of the media were also, you know, faced that kind of attack. And now everybody is pulling on their side. At this particular point, Mheshimiwa, when demonstrations are peaceful, let's just take a clear scenario, that they start moving all the way from whichever direction they'll take. And police work is just to protect, to give them security, and what have you.
Yes.
Where's the problem with that?
There's no problem whatsoever with that, but what we have seen in the past is that demonstrations in this country are always not peaceful. They are chaotic. There is serious element of violence in the demonstrations. I can give you an example of peaceful demonstration. I'm a Catholic, and we always have processions during our Easter. And that procession is normally very peaceful. There is even marshals to direct traffic as we do our demonstration, or as we walk along the streets doing our prayers. Those are the kind of demonstration which we are talking about.
We're talking about 2 sets of demonstration. These are different sets of demonstration. Political demonstration. Catholic and
demonstrations across the world. In the developed nations, people even do demonstration by deciding maybe to
anger strike,
to be on the traffic, and to oot for about 30 minutes. It's demonstration. To whistle, maybe to hang on, to burn themselves on trees. Those are kind of peaceful demonstrations we are talking about. But in this country, we have seen demonstrations which are very violent, which have element of destroying property. And that's why we are saying we have to put a law which gives effect to Article 37 of our Constitution, so that we can give the powers to the police, because police are the ones who are given powers to protect lives and property of Kenyans. So we need to give that Article 37 into effect. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Article 19, section D, that it says if any participant or any person either obstruct or interferes with the participant in assembly or demonstration, kills or seriously injures or attempts to kill or to seriously injure or show manifest intentions of killing or seriously injuring any other person, or destroy or does serious damage to and attempt to destroy or to do serious damage or to show manifest of intention of destroying or doing serious damage to any variable, immovable, or movable property, police have a right to take actions to that particular person.
What kind of action are you proposing in this situation?
And this situation I'm proposing that the police may take necessary steps to prevent the action contemplated in paragraph 1 and 2 and may, if it finds other method to be ineffective or inappropriate, use force, including the use of firearm and other weapons.
Which is still provided for by the police. Police are allowed to use live bullets, or rubber bullets rather, to stop such kind of demonstrations and to protect property. That is what is provided for. But are you trying to allude to the fact that if a protester is destroying property, burning down vehicles, then police should use an alternative force?
Yes.
Which is?
It is the police. We are giving police a room to interpret and see the kind of force they should be able to use, which includes the firearm or even other weapons which may be provided for by the National Police Service.
It's obvious. Just firearm, rubber bullets, or arrest that person and present that person to court of law. But your proposal, maybe with some hidden, I don't know how the police will interpret it, but let me leave it at that.
We have to prevent destruction of property and loss of life. Already for the demonstrations which we have seen, I think 2 have lost their lives.
Yeah.
Millions of property, property worth of millions of shillings have been destroyed. We saw what happened in Kisumu. An entire supermarket was brought down. And not only in Kisumu, also in this city. We cannot continue like that. We want to build this economy. We want to build this Kenya.
Okay.
It is only us who can build this nation. Other countries we call developed nations. It is the citizens of those countries who made those countries to be the way they were. There is time they were extremely poor. We are poor at the moment. But in another 20 years, this country can change. And it's only the leadership which can be able to change this country. William Ruto is at the top. We know he has the intention to change this country.
Very well.
He has 10 years.
Yes.
We have to support him with the necessary laws which can help him in changing the rise of the economy.
Election cycle is always 5 years.
Yes.
So you've talked about 10 years. Kenyans will decide after 5 years.
Yes.
All right, that is your political statement. But nonetheless, what is you've talked about 20 years from now.
Yes.
What are you trying to foresee with this kind of proposal? Do you remember when Deputy President, then when he was at Bomas of Kenya, and he made a statement that right now it might be okay because the shoe is on this side. But how will it feel when the shoe is on the other side? The question I'm trying to ask you, when you bring up this kind of proposal and you take it to Parliament, let's just say it passes and sees the light of the day. 10, 15, 20 years down the road, the other side will be on this end because nothing is permanent, Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
Will you also go back and say that this kind of law is punitive? Will you retract it?
No, what we are saying, look at a country which is just our neighbor, Rwanda. The kind of economic transformation which is happening in that country. Look at what happened with the Asian tigers. The countries which we were at par, which we could lend money in 1963, 1964, in 1965. These are countries which are way ahead economically and financially of this nation. Why? Because of the type of leadership which these countries have. It is true, Kenya is a democratic nation. But this democracy has to be within the limits. Our rights, your right stops or ends at the point it interferes with my right.
Absolutely.
So we have to put laws which put in effect or which ensures it's not all through about your right, it's also about my right. Because we are a democratic nation. Wake up and say from today, this will not be happening. It is the law which can only say that this will not be happening, that your right will stop and end at the point where it interferes with the other person. And we have the right of the other person. We have to put very strong laws. And this is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So that this nation can be able to have a breathing space for economic and financial transformation. We don't need to have our children in the same financial or economic situation which we are at.
Okay.
Our children need to enjoy different status in another 20, 25 years. I don't want to talk about that years from now. That years is way ahead. We need, within 20 years, this country to be transformed in terms of infrastructure, education system, security systems, which we have, the health sector, and the agriculture sector.
Absolutely. Let's go through.
And we can't be interfering every single political cycle. We have madamanos. We have to take care of them in law.
Right. Let's go through the front page of the Daily Nation, Mheshimiwa. Thank you. Ruto's new salary plan for workers. Ruto's salary plan, new salary plan for workers. The president said that he announced a new salaries policy that will set equal pay for workers in public and private sectors, even as he defended extra pension and medical deductions that have shrunk workers' pay slips. Protest rivals dig in amid calls for restraint. That is, President William Ruto and Azimio Chief Raila Odinga have maintained the headlined positions over today's planned opposition protests, even as calls for restraint dominated Labour Day celebrations yesterday. Okay, and policy before cabinet and will be taken to parliament soon, says President. That is as far as the new salary plan for workers is concerned. Very quickly, sweet victory for festival winners. That is also captured on the People Daily. Of course, the Drama and Film Festival was hosted at Shimo Latewa School in the coast. And that, the curtain came down over the weekend. All right. Public-private sector workers to get same pay in policy shift. That is another policy that the president is taking a keen look at. Low-key event as biting cold spoils mood over the 40,000 capacity venue. Only held about 2,000 people, half of who sat in the open field to bask in the sun's weak rays. Okay, for much more, you can take a look at your favorite newspaper and read for more. Okay, Mheshimiwa, we have got 2 minutes to go. Let me ask you this question. You are coming up with a very good proposal, but one thing that is now gripping the country is the issue of Shakahola. The entire nation is looking at that part of the country. A majority of Kenyans never heard of that word before, Shakahola.
Yes.
But right now, it's in the head, the minds, and the brains of Kenyans. As Parliament, what do you think Parliament should do? Because we have got many churches coming up left, right, and center. And when you hear this story, it gives a grim picture on a society where some laws must also be put in place. Much as you also have that proposal, don't you think that Parliament should also come up with a proposal to streamline the upsurge of churches?
Yes.
You are a strong Catholic.
Yes, absolutely. It is true that we need to regulate the space of the church as quickly as possible, because even in the Bible it says there will always be false prophets, prophets of doom, and we have so many scammers at the moment in the names of the church. That's why you'll find that there is one church here with a very big name. Then there's immediately after 20 meters, there is another one with another very huge name. And people who don't understand the standard of God, and the standard of God, I mean theology. People who have not studied theology, people who have not studied philosophy, and they have all manner of excuse. I mean, they excuse themselves. They say it's not a must. You go to school. The Spirit can come in you and you're able to interpret Bible properly. I think true, we need to regulate that space. But I don't know whether we have courageous politicians or members of Parliament who will take that bill to Parliament to regulate that space. Because at the end of the day, we are in Parliament through the votes. And you may have so many churches in your constituency, and probably you may not want to be the one who is trying to stifle some of those churches in your constituency. So I think
it's quite interesting, Mheshimiwa, because when you look at the concerns.
Yes.
From the autopsy which was carried yesterday, but the government was there. CS Kithure Kindiki was there, and Chief Government Pathologist was also there. And from part of the results, some of the victims of the cult operating in Kilifi Shakahola village were killed by suffocation and strangulation. Well, you listen to such kind of things, and then, as a member of parliament, as an elected leader, you say you cannot stand and say we condemn such kind of churches, strangulation and suffocation, and most of them were kids. Some people have also, sold their household goods.
It is very painful, because the ones who went through this horror are children. They are the ones who, according to this teaching of Mackenzie, the children starts, then they are followed by the parent. And you see some of those graves, it's our whole family buried together.
Yeah.
There is no way you can bury the family together as if they died at the same time. They can't die at the same time. Death cannot occur for one family. There's no such coincidence. There's no such probability. Even if you are not eating, you have different genetic makeup, you have different strength. One will die today, the other one will die, I don't know, after 3 days, I don't know. But you cannot die at the same time so that you'll be buried at the same time. So it is true. People are killed, children were killed. The full force of law should be applied to the guys who are perpetrating this heinous crime. But having said that, we need to surely regulate the space, the church, as quickly as possible. And I think the state law has all the instruments necessary to forward a regulation to Parliament so that it can be considered at a very high speed and it becomes law. As I've said, I'm not sure whether we have a member of Parliament who will forward in his name a bill or a law or an amendment of an act to ensure that the churches are clearly regulated. You need to do a lot of soul searching. You need to really audit your political environment properly, so that you carry such a move. But the state law, the government as a ministry which can forward a regulation, an amendment, an act of Parliament, an amendment to act of Parliament, or a fresh bill to ensure we regulate churches in Kenya.
All right. Mheshimiwa, thank you. I think that is the best way to stop this at this particular point.
Thank you.
Okay. The issue of Shakahola, of course, the CS said that the probe will include human organ harvesting, and he said that they will leave nothing to chance. The autopsy procedure will take place for the next 1 week, and of course, where 110 bodies so far have been exhumed, and some of them have their vital organs missing. But the chief government pathologist, Johansen Odur, is still camping there with security officers led by CS Kithure Kindiki. Thank you so much for being part of the People in Politics. We've been joined by Mheshimiwa Godfrey Ruku, member of Parliament, Mbeere North constituency. People of Mbeere North, he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job. Thank you so much for coming, Mheshimiwa. Of course, we expected to have Deputy Governor of Siaya County, that is CPA, William Oduol, who was a no-show. He was supposed to be here on set, but he's not shown up. Mheshimiwa, you have another chance with us here on KBC Channel 1. All is not lost. Thank you for being with us. Right, taking a break. But when we come back, we're crossing over to Radio Taifa, where Rashid Mwamkondo will be having another set of discussion. What he will be talking about, stay up next for that. Good morning.
It is Nuremberg at home against Stuttgart, and this is a repeat of the final almost 16 years ago.
VfB Stuttgart's 1-0 win over FC Nuremberg secured them a place in the last four for the first time since reaching the final in 2013.
And this is Enzo Milo to score! The substitute has done it! And he's done it in style!
On the other hand, Eintracht Frankfurt's 2-0 home win over Union Berlin kept the Europa League holders on track for what will be a 6th German Cup win and the first since 2018. Witness this interesting semi-final DFB Pokal match between VfB Stuttgart and Eintracht Frankfurt kicking off at 9:45 p.m. on Wednesday, 3rd of May. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Why are you here? Long time no see.
My God. Everyone, I officially announce, as of today, Larry has been promoted to the position of General Manager. Welcome!
How come you're here?
Remember I said I would take the interview? So now you know that I'm diviner.
And you?
How pathetic that two bachelors know each other so well. So, before our relationship gets too awkward, I'm going to leave.
KBC Channel 1. We put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Popote ulipo, ni furaha iliyoje wasaa kama huu unapoichagua runinga hii kwenye kipindi Good Morning Kenya, na vile vile pia mtazamaji, karibu sana kwenye KBC Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya. Kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 2 hadi saa 3 huwa tunafanya hivi. Kumbuka ni ushirikiano kati wa KBC Channel 1 na KBC Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya, ikiwa leo ni tarehe 2 siku ya Jumanne mwezi mbichi wa Mei mwaka 2023. Karibu kwenye sehemu yetu ya Gumzo Pevu. Mtazamaji, kwenye sehemu yetu ya Gumzo Pevu leo itaangazia sana yaliyojiri katika bustani ya Uhuru hapo jana, ambapo Rais William Ruto aliongoza sherehe za Labor Day na aliweza kuzungumza masuala mbalimbali. Rais hapo jana alielezea jinsi gani anapanga kuimarisha uchumi wa Kenya ambao umekuwa ukidorora. Vile vile pia rais alitoa ahadi ataimarisha sekta mbalimbali kama vile sekta ya kilimo na vile vile pia sekta ya ushonaji, sekta ya kuongeza mikopo ya Hustler Fund, vile vile pia kuimarisha uchumi wa kidijitali, kuimarisha ushirikiano wa kimataifa kitaifa na hususan uimarishaji wa nini msikilizaji wa makazi, na aliahidi kwamba jumla ya kazi nyumba 1200 zitaweza kujengwa. Msikilizaji, mipango hii ni katika kuimarisha uchumi na vile vile pia maisha ya Wakenya kwa ujumla. Kwa upande mwingine, migogoro ya kisiasa, mtazamaji, migogoro ya kisiasa inazidi kusumbua taifa letu la Kenya. Sasa je, tuangazie kuimarisha uchumi wa nchi ama tusuluhishe mizozo ya kisiasa? Hii leo mtazamaji, ndani ya studio ni furaha iliyoje, tuko naye Mheshimiwa mbunge wa Limuru, mhandisi Kirago Chege. Karibu sana mheshimiwa ndani ya studio.
Asante sana.
Na vile vile pia tuko naye wakili mchanganuzi wa masuala ya kisiasa bwana Gibson Gisore. Karibu sana bwana Gibson.
Asante sana bwana Rashid.
Labda tukianza na mheshimiwa mbunge wa Limuru, kwa tathmini yako fupi, hotuba ya rais jana katika Labor Day unaizungumzia vipi?
Kwanza ningetaka kushukuru nyinyi watu wa KBC kwa kunialika. Ni furaha yangu kuja hapa kwa sababu hii ndio stesheni ya kitaifa. Na ningetaka kusema ile hotuba ya rais jana ni hotuba ambayo ilinifurahisha sana kwa sababu yale yote aliyozungumzia ni yale tuko naye wakati wa campaign. Tuliongea na wananchi, kulikuwa na economic forums around the country, na tukachukua mawazo ya watu na tukaenda tukaketi chini tukatengeneza plan ya vile hii nchi tunaweza kuinua pahali iko ndio iendelee mbele. Na jana president mwenyewe alipata nafasi ya kuongea na wafanyikazi na kuwaeleza ni vipi amepanga ama Kenya Kwanza government inapanga na ni vipi tunaweza kuinua ile hali ambayo tuko naye kwa uchumi wetu, ukosaji wa chakula, hali ya unemployment, mambo ya teknolojia, mambo ya health na hiyo mambo yote. Kwa hivyo mimi nilifurahi sana kuona rais mwenyewe amekuwa consistent. Yale ambayo alisema wakati wa campaign na yale ambayo amekuwa amepanga ako kabisa kwa hiyo njia na hajatoka vile yeye mwenyewe aliahidi wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo mimi nimeshukuru sana kwa hiyo hotuba yake na ninajua yeye ako serious kwa haya mambo.
Asante sana.
Sio siasa.
Asante sana mheshimiwa wakili. Kwa ufupi tu, hotuba ya rais jana kwa sherehe za Labor Day akizungumza na wafanyikazi, tathmini yako kiufupi?
Asante sana Rashida. Yangu kulingana na hiyo hotuba ya rais jana ni matatu ningeweza kuongelea pale. Jana ilikuwa siku ya wafanyakazi na kidogo kulingana na mimi sikuona hiyo msisimuko katika wafanyakazi. Hata wakiojua katika TV pale uliona ni kama hawakuwa na huyo msisimuko kwamba imekuwa Labor Day, kwa sababu kuna yale walikuwa wanatarajia. Hali ya maisha imekuwa ngumu na kuna yale kidogo walikuwa na expect kwamba maybe mahali ya maisha aweze kutamka moja ama mawili kulingana na vile hali ya maisha imekuwa ngumu ili ile hali iweze kushuka chini. Hakuweza kuongelea yale. So kulingana na mfanyakazi haikuwa siku mzuri ya Labor Day kulingana na wao. Ya pili kulikuwa na yale aliongelea juu ya siasa ambayo ya maandamano. Kulingana na mimi kidogo alikuja na uzito sana kusema kwamba yeye atarajii kukuwa na kitu chochote kama maandamano. Rais ni mwanasiasa, ningetarajia kwamba apunguze, afanye ile toning down kidogo kulingana na ile hali ya kisiasa iliyopo wakati huu, kwa sababu ile kukuwa na uzito sana kidogo inakuwa ni kama ilikuwa kama ni personal. Ukikuwa president kuna ile stage ya president kwamba unafaa kukuwa ukisema hii maneno tunaweza kuwa tukiongea na tumeanza na mjadala, mbona msiupe muda? Unajua ile ambayo hata watu wakisikia wanasema wenyewe is willing. Kuna ile
lakini wakili Gisore, rais atafanya vipi vizuri licha ya kwamba Jumapili wiki zilizopita ndani ya ikulu aliwaomba hawa viongozi waachane na haya? Sasa better than that, wakili afanye nini rais?
Rais, you're not supposed to lose your cool. I think he lost his cool. Hiyo ndio anajaribu kuongelea kwamba hiyo tone ya kukuwa presidential ama kukuwa a father figure kidogo ilimponyoka. Na ako na haki because ni binadamu, atusemi kwamba ana haki, ako na haki, but kidogo ina expect kwamba unajua kuna wale watu wanaweza wafinya sana, hali ya uchumi sio mzuri, wale opposition wamekuwa kisukuma mambo yao, so ni kama kuongezea mafuta kwenye moto. So hiyo kulingana na mimi hiyo ndio, but hali ya kusema ataimprove Jubi hiyo na mpongeza kwamba I hope atimize.
Lakini Rashid,
yes mheshimiwa,
ni vizuri watu waelewe hii mambo ya kufanya siasa kila wakati ndio inatuharibia hali ya maisha. Kwa ukiangalia rais hata wakati alikuwa anaongea ako na uchungu, kwa sababu kama hii maandamano inafanya watu wapoteze mali zao, hawawezi kwenda kazi, watoto hawawezi kwenda shule, na wale ambao wanaongoza haya maandamano watoto wao wako sawa, wanatumia watoto wa watu wengine vibaya. Sasa kama wewe kama rais na unaongea mambo ya Kenya ya kesho, kama watoto hataenda shule, biashara hazitafanywa, wewe kama rais unaongoza nchi gani? Kwa hivyo ukiona rais akiongea haya mambo ni vile anajua uzito wa kuendesha nchi. Sasa tulikuwa tunaomba mvua inyeshe na mvua imenyesha. Badala ya hawa hata opposition kusema wakati huu wacha tuachane na maandamano, tuende tukarime na tupande ndio tupate chakula, wanasema afadhali kwenda kwa kupiga ile masufuria kwa kichwa ati sasa ndio tutapata chakula. Unajua sisi ni lazima tuwe watu serious na tusiwe watu wa kutumia watu wengine vibaya. Hawa watu hata jana ukiwaona vile wameketi, hawa bank account zao ziko sawa, hawajali ati chakula itatoka wapi kesho, because they are already secure. Lakini kwa mwananchi wa kawaida, mtu ambaye anajua zile shida tuko nazo za hali ya health, na mambo hata ile tulikuwa tunasema mambo ya pension, ni lazima tuwe watu ambao tutachukua haya mambo serious, na tuwe watu ambao wana discuss. Mimi kwangu na nasema hiyo kama mbunge na mwananchi wa Kenya, mimi nilikuwa nategemea kama saa hii ati watu wale wako opposition, wale wanaongea mambo ya maandamano, watachukua ile hali iko ya digitali. Kama unataka kupeleka petition kwa ofisi yote, ndugu, si kuna emails, kuna WhatsApp, ni nini unataka tusiende kazi kwa sababu unapeleka petition? Si teknolojia imefika sasa. Kama unataka kutumia salamu natuma, petition naweza kutuma, lakini huwezi ati lazima nchi isimame kwa sababu unapeleka barua. Sisi wakati kama huu bali tumefika, tafadhali watu watumie teknolojia, tuache mambo ile ya zamani ya kutembea na makaratasi.
Haya, msikilizaji, mtazamaji, kama mheshimiwa mhandisi Kiragu Chege amekumbatia dijitali, wewe ni nani ambao uko hapo bado na makaratasi? Narudi kwako wakili Gibson Gisore. Katika muda wa mwezi mmoja, Rais Daktari William Ruto amekuwa akililia sana kwamba kufanyike mazungumzo kati ya pande zote mbili bungeni. Unahisi bwana Gibson, mbona kumekuwa na vikwazo fulani katika kutatua shida hii? Tatizo liko wapi? Kwa sababu nilikuwa nimeona upande wa Kenya Kwanza uko na timu yao ikiongozwa na mheshimiwa Kimani Ichung'wah, na upande wa pili Kenya Kwanza walikuwa na kikosi chao kikiongozwa na mheshimiwa Opiyo Wandayi. Ghafla bin vu mazungumzo yamesitishwa, watu warudi barabarani.
Ni Otienda Molo, sio Opiyo Wandayi. Ile shida imekuwa hapo ni siasa. Ile siasa inachezwa pale ni siasa ya another level, kwamba kulingana na wao ni kwamba kuna ile delegation ambayo imechaguliwa na chama cha mheshimiwa hapa walifanya ile kufanya kidogo kumix and match, au kuja na suti vile walikuwa wanatarajiwa kukuja na suti. Walichukua wale watu wengine ambao walikuwa zile vya matanzu za ODM wakaweka pale, na ikaleta shida. Kuna ule mheshimiwa Adam Keinan ambaye pia ile upande mwingine Azimio imekuwa ikisema aweze kutoa kutolewa pale. Sasa
na wao pia walikuwa na mheshimiwa Posing kwenye ile upande mwingine.
So hiyo ni siasa, ni kama hii mazungumzo haiko inafaa ifanyike. Walikuwa wanataka kufanya tu show pale. Sasa hiyo show imefika mahali inafaa kufanyika, wanashangaa itaenda vipi. So kidogo zile ground rules katika sheria, kuna zile ground rules, ukienda kotini unafanya preliminary applications. Sasa ndio hizo wanafanya, na kidogo kuna mmoja anataka the whole suit tupiliwe mbali. Maandamano yote tupiliwe kwa sababu hataki mtu mmoja. So hizo ni vitu za kusingizia tu. Kulingana na mimi hakuna kitu cha muhimu sana ambayo kinawazuia kukuwa na hiyo mazungumzo ili Kenya iweze kuendelea mbele. But sisi ni wanasiasa, lazima wacheze siasa because kuna vested interest pale in both parties. Hiyo ndio inawasumbua kidogo.
Alright, sasa turudi katika swala zima la uchumi. Nikianza na wewe wakili Gibson. Shilingi ya Kenya imedorora dhidi ya dola Marekani. Tumeona bei ya mafuta nchini iko juu, bei ya unga iko juu. Jana naibu rais Bwana Rigathi Gachagua akijaribu kuelezea kuhusiana na bei ya unga, kidogo ule umati pale ulimzomea. Lakini baadaye rais akaja akalieka wazi kwamba wale waungwana walikuwa na miaka 4 lakini iliwashinda bei kuishikisha 230. Yeye amejaribu, imefika paka ngapi? So ni chaguo la mtu. Je, hadi kufikia sasa unadhani serikali ya Rais William Ruto imefanya nini kukwamua uchumi wa taifa letu la Kenya?
Wamefanya, lazima tuseme ukweli, wamefanya 1-2 but bado haitoshi. Tunatarajia kwamba wafanye mingi zaidi. Alafu pia kuna wale ambayo officials wanaongea mambo mengine ambayo kidogo ileti motisha, ile wa Kenya kuamini. Unakumbuka waziri wa wizara ya kilimo akisema anaenda kufanya contract farming in Zambia ndio waleta mahindi. Unajua huyo ni waziri wa agriculture kuweza kusema maneno kama yale, na Zambia yenyewe ikakataa ikasema mambo kama hii hakuna. So kidogo inaleta ile kutoaminiana kwamba hao watu wanaongea ukweli, wanaongea uongo. Kuna ile pia tulikuwa tumeambiwa kuna ships pale kwa maji within 2 weeks zingefika zilete mahindi, sijui kutoka ilikuwa wapi. Hiyo story pia imepotelea, na kidogo naibu wa rais ukimwona jana akielezea hayo mambo, kidogo unakuwa na ile wasiwasi kwamba anaongea ukweli ama ni vile amesahau yale alikuwa ametuahidi hapo nyuma kidogo. So kuna zile statements ambazo wale watu wako kwa serikali wanasema, I think kidogo wanafaa kukuwa na kuzicheck, kufanya ile balance checking, ili leo usikuje ukaongea ili kesho kaongea lile, Wakenya wanabaki wanashangaa ni nini ukweli. So kidogo hapo ndio kuna ile shida, na I think ni kitu ambayo wanaweza kuwa wakipanga kama serikali, wakae chini waseme kama tunaenda na story moja, we stick with the story wote, kuliko huyu anaongea hili kesho huyu mwingine anaongea hili, na inaleta hiyo confusion, na hali ya uchumi iwezi kubadilika, haibadiliki katika kwa ground vile watu wanasema kwa ground vitu ni different. So wanafaa kukuwa na a consistent story ambayo inakuwa believable by mwananchi na actionable.
Mheshimiwa, kuna swala hapa linajitokeza kuhusiana na uchumi. Kwa sasa kila mtu anazungumza uchumi, kutoka kwa ushuru, kutoka kwa nini. Ni miezi 7. Je, unahisi kwamba hii miezi 7 ni sawa kwa Wakenya kuweza kumjaji rais?
Kwanza ningetaka kuwashukuru wananchi wa Kenya kwa sababu sasa hivi tunaongea mambo ya ajenda. Hii kama ni uchumi, tuongee mambo ya uchumi. Na mimi nafurahi kwa sababu upande wetu tuko na plan ya vile sisi tunataka kuinua uchumi. Wale wengine ambao tunasukumana nao hawana plan. Mimi sijasikia hata siku moja wao wakisema kulete bei ya unga, hii ndio formula yetu. Ile formula imekuwako ni kwenda kukopa. Na sisi tunasema nchi hii hatuwezi kuendelea na mambo ya kukopa. Yeah? Kwa sababu hii mambo ya kukopa tunajua pahali imetufikisha. Kama saa hii ile shida tuko naye, na umeongea mambo ya dola, ni kwa sababu tunalipa madeni ya nje pesa nyingi sana. Na haya madeni ilichukuliwa na ile administration kwanza sana mwisho. Pesa zilienda na ni lazima tulipe. Mimi ningetaka wananchi wampatie rais wetu muda. Sasa mvua imenyesha. Wakati tulikuwa tunaongea mambo ya uchumi na kukosa chakula, tulikuwa na kiangazi. Sasa mvua imenyesha, watu wamepanda. Hii serikali imekuwa inapea watu fertilizer, ndio yield paika, for example, tuitoe kama 10 bags, tuende 20 ama 25 pahali zamani tulikuwa, na tukishapata hiyo yield, production kubwa, bei ya chakula kama unga itaenda chini, lakini ni lazima tuwe na mpango ya kusustain ndio maisha iwe chini. Lakini hii mambo ya kwenda kukopa, you are not sure kesho itakuwaje. Kwa hivyo mimi nikiangalia zile miezi 7 tumekuwa tunapanga, fertilizer tumepeana, Mungu naye kulingana na maombi yetu, walikuwa nasema ati maombi haifanyi kazi, sasa tunajua inafanya. Mvua imekuja, sasa ningeuliza wananchi tutumie wakati huu kulima, kupanda, kwa sababu tukipanda na najua Mungu atatujalia, tutaweza kupata mapato mazuri kuliko vile tulikuwa hapo mbeleni. Tuwe watu ambao wanasema mwaka huu tutafanya hivi, production yetu itaenda hivi, next year tutaenda hivi. Mwishoe hii Kenya ni lazima tuwe watu wako na food security. Ndio mambo ya Ukraine tuiondoe, kwa sababu we can feed ourselves. Lakini hii story ati kila saa kitu kifanyika si tunaenda nje kukopa chakula, hii ni lazima tuondoe, lakini hatutaondoa na mdomo. Kweli. Ni lazima tuwe watu who are serious. Na mambo hii ya mpango ya uchumi sio mambo ya siasa. Sio mambo ya kwenda kugonga sufuria. ati now you are calling people ati uko na mpango ya kuinua uchumi. Ni mambo ambayo ni serious. Ni lazima sisi tujiulize kama ni maji. Zile dams tunasema tunataka kujenga, tutazijenga wapi na vipi, na zitasaidia watu vipi? Kwa sababu finally hii nchi we must deal with food insecurity kabisa. Kwa sababu shida nyingi ambazo tuko nazo ni kwa sababu hatuwezi kujipatia chakula. Na kwa hivyo mimi ukiniuliza, kwa sababu president ako na mpango, tumpatie muda. Hii budget ambao tunaanza sasa ndio itakuwa budget yake. Na ukiangalia kabisa vile amesema na ile mpango wako nazo, we are going to deal with this issue ya uchumi.
Bila shaka mtazamaji, ni Mheshimiwa Kiragu Chege, mhandisi wa engineer kutoka kule Limuru, anasema Caroline Mramba mwenzangu upande wa pili wa Radio Taifa, ili uchumi kuimarika si kuvaa sufuria. Turudi kwako na wakili Gibson Gisore. Jana Rais Daktari William Ruto alikuwa na nukta 6 ambazo alizieleza kwa wafanyikazi katika hafla ile ya jana. Lakini kuna wengi wanahisi kwamba rais anazungumza sana kuliko kufanya. Wengi wanauliza haya si alistahili kuwa katika kampeni. Sijui swala hili unalichukuliaje, kwa sababu jana rais alisema kuimarisha sekta ya kilimo ni swala ambalo amelikuwa akilizungumzia, masuala ya export processing zone, vile vile pia kuajiri watu kazi, kuongoza mikopo ya Hustler Fund, kuimarisha. Mbona rais anazungumza sana, si ashike moja baada ya jingine ama namna gani?
Hiyo ni hisia yangu kabisa Rashid, kwamba rais sasa imekuwa ni kama kwamba yeye bado ni kama ako campaign. Zile ahadi alikuwa anatoa ni kama bado anaziamend, akiwa bado akitoa zingine ili hali hajatimiza hata moja. Sasa hiyo ndio shida wa Kenya wako nayo. Hali ya uchumi inazidi kudorora, ili hali ile tunasikia kutoka pande yao ni promises. Tunajua vile mheshimiwa amesema kwamba kuimprove uchumi ama kuleta chakula ni ile it's a long process, but ile ahadi walikuwa wametoa mbeleni sio hiyo. Walikuwa wamesema tukiingia hivi mambo itabadilika. Wameingia wameanza kutoa ahadi zingine, tupe miezi 8, tupe mwaka, tupe muda fulani. Sasa ni nini ilikuwa ngumu watuambie mtatupa hii muda ya mwaka before waingie ama wakiwa wameshikilia usukani pale? Hiyo ndio kidogo inaleta taswizi. Kidogo mheshimiwa, unasikia waziri pia anasema ameenda Zambia. Mheshimiwa ameongea kitu muhimu sana kwamba tutafanya ile production within the country. But waziri ni kama wako on the same page. Waziri baada amekuwa Mazambia. Sijui tutamtoa lini Zambia kuje Kenya kushughulikia mambo ya Kenya. Hiyo muhimu, hiyo ndio kidogo tunafaa. Ni kama waziri ako kwa pande yake na rais akiongea na naibu wake pia wanaongea vitu, na mheshimiwa hapa akiongea I think ndio walikuwa wapea waziri wa agriculture because ule yuko pale sina imani naye. Sina imani naye. Alafu kuna hii mambo ya export processing zone, anaongelea but hatujaona plan. We need to see a clear plan, a roadmap. Ni nini amefanya? Because president needs to communicate to Kenyans, awambie EPZ. Unajua Uhuru alikuwa ameanza pale Kinani mpaka sasa hajaongelewa. Ni mikakati gani ameweka katika kuendeleza hiyo mpango? Tunafaa tujue ili Wakenya wanakuwa na imani kuna kitu wanafanya. Watu wa Kenya hawana shida, ni ile kuwaelezea na ueleze kitu ambayo ni consistent wanataka kufuata ili wakuwe na imani na serikali yako. But ikiwa rais unaongea hili, unapeana roadmap, waziri pia naye anakuja anapeana na ingine tofauti. Naibu wake akija pia naye anaongea anasema kuna meli italeta mahindi ambayo kidogo in 2 weeks biashara tutamaliza. So kidogo unashangaa ni nani anaongea ukweli katika hii serikali. So hayo ni mambo ambayo wanafaa, I think they need to deal with it in house ili wakuwe na a clear plan ama wakuwe na agenda moja ambayo iko believable kwa mwananchi. Hilo ndio ninataka kusisitiza sana.
Naona mheshimiwa anataka kuzungumza na vile vile pia mheshimiwa ukichangia swala hilo. Je, ni kwamba serikali ya Kenya kwanza ni kama hakuna chain of communication, kwa sababu unakuta huyu anazungumza tofauti, huyu anazungumza tofauti, huyu anazungumza tofauti.
Kwanza unajua watu wengi wamesema tulikuwa tumesema lakini tulipochukua serikali tukaingia tukakwenda kule tukakuta vitu hakuna vitu ilienda. Kwa hivyo one assumption tulikuwa nafikiri kuna vitu tutakuta vitu inaenda, lakini
mlikuta boxes zimeliwa na panya.
Sasa lakini pia hii maandamano haijasaidia nchi hii. Kama vile tunaongea mambo ya export processing, tunaongea mambo ya investment kuja kutoka nje, lakini kama watu wanagonga masufuria kwa barabara, wale watu wa nje wanajiuliza hii nchi ndio nitapeleka rasilimali zangu ama vipi? Kwa hivyo sisi kama wananchi, hata upinzani na sisi kwa serikali, lazima tujue kuna wakati lazima tuwe pamoja sana mambo ya image ya nchi. Kwa sababu tunategemea watu waje walete rasilimali zao hapa. Na vile tumeshafanya tangu wakati walianza kutembea huku kwa barabara, kuna watu wamesema wacha goja kidogo, lakini kwa serikali mipango imekuwako. Kuna ile industrial park kama hapa Naivasha. Hata ukiangalia kwa gazeti wameannounce wale watu wangetaka kwenda kule ndio tufanye yale ambao tumepanga. Kwa hivyo mimi ningeuliza tu, kwa sababu unajua tuko na uhuru pia sisi upande wetu. President hatuambii sasa kama saa hii ati nije niseme jambo fulani. Tuko na uhuru, sio kama upande ule mwingine ni lazima useme yale yanatakikana na mkubwa. Sisi tuna uhuru na serikali yetu, hata waziri, ma-PS na watu wote, kila mtu ako na uhuru wa kuongea vile anataka kuongea, lakini sisi tuko na plan. Na hii plan watu wanaweza kuchangia. Vile ningeuliza, watu wamesikia kama ile housing program tuko naye ya housing. Tunasema hiyo itaweza kusaidia vijana wetu wapate kazi.
Ndio.
Na tujengee watu nyumba. Sasa upande ule mwingine, plani yao ya kusaidia hawa vijana ni kuwapeleka maandamano, ama wangesema badala ya nyumba hii ndio mngekuwa mnafanya, badala ya ile mpango mko naye ya kuimprove NHIF, mambo ya health, hii ndio mngekuwa mnafanya. Alafu sisi tunaongea. Sasa nikisema hata mambo hii ya zile mambo ya kusungumza kule bungeni, ukiangalia haya hawataki hiyo iendelee kwa sababu ya ajenda yao ni moja tu, nusu mkate. Na hii ndio tumesema mambo ya nusu mkate tunajua historia yake haiendeshi nchi hii vizuri. Na hakuna haja ya watu kwenda kwa elections, tuseme uchaguzi, alafu kisha maliza uchaguzi unaanza kuleta stories zingine.
Ndio.
Sisi tunajiuliza kama wale watu ambao wamechaguliwa. Hata mimi nilikuwa na mtu namba 2 kwangu.
Ndio.
Hata magavana na watu wote, hata MCs walikuwa na namba 2 zao ambao walikuwa karibu sana.
Ndiyo.
Ni shida gani hii iko na kiti ya president ambao haina na shida na wale wengine wote walikuwa kwa uchaguzi?
Ndiyo.
Inakuwaje tu mtu mmoja ndio analeta hii maneno? Sijaona watu wakipiga debe kwa sababu eti hakuchaguliwa ama anataka nusu mkate kwa county kama governor, kwa MP, kwa women rep ama senator. Inakuwa tu mtu mmoja. Na ni lazima haya mambo ya nusu mkate tujue kama tunataka demokrasia in this country. We must believe in it, that even if I defeat you with 1 vote, you must accept that umeshidwa. But there is another time. So what you do, wewe leta mambo yako ile ya uchaguzi ule mwingine. Anza kuuza. Useme ya watu wanajenga nyumba, mimi natajenga chombo za kwenda kwa moon. Kama ndio kitu yako. Alafu wewe utaongea na wananchi wataangalia ni vipi wataendelea kwa uchaguzi ule mwingine. Lakini kwa saa hii, tafadhali wewe jua hata wewe ni Mkenya, na wewe uchumi huu ukienda vibaya ama nchi hii ikienda kama vile imeenda Sudan, sisi zote tutaumia.
Shikilia hapo mheshimiwa. Bila shaka mtazamaji, mambo mazuri, lakini kwa sasa ikiwa ni saa 2 na dakika 38, saa 3 bado dakika 22, mtazamaji niruhusu nivae hivi, na vile vile pia waheshimiwa na waruhusu muvae hivyo tuweze kupokea simu kutoka upande wa pili wa studio. Mtazamaji, kumbuka unatizama kipindi hichi kupitia runinga yako ya kitaifa ya KBC Channel 1, ambapo jana katika hotuba yake Daktari Francis Atoli alimuomba Rais Daktari William Ruto miongoni mwa mashirika ambayo anafanya vizuri yasibinafsishwe, mojawapo ni KBC. Na ruka upande wa pili wa studio Radio Taifa, ambapo mwenzangu mtoto mzuri Caroline Mramba yuko standby. Caroline, tuzungumze na wananchi, wazungumze na waheshimiwa hapa ndani ya studio. Tutakuwa tunapokea simu 3 mtazamaji, tuweze kusikia wananchi wanayapi kuhusiana na swala ile ambalo tunalolizungumzia, uchumi na siasa.
Asante Rashid, na mazungumzo naona yamenoga na ni mazuri haswa. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya. Rashid pamoja na wageni wetu ambao ni Honorable Engineer Kiragu Chege ambaye ni mbunge wa Limuru, na Gibson Gisore ambaye ni political analyst wetu ama mtasemaji, mchambuzi wetu wa kisiasa, wakizungumzia swala zima hili la uchumi na siasa. Mwelekeo ni upi? Una swali lolote pale nje linalokukera, linalokuzunguka akilini, piga simu mara moja. Tunapokea simu 3 za kwanza kupitia 0700176699. Weka swali lako kwa ufupi zaidi ili wageni wetu waweze kujibu na tusonge mbele na mazungumzo yetu. Radio Taifa, hello.
Mtoto mzuri Caroline Mramba, hello.
Hello.
Una na sisi tuko yale ni kwa majodi punyore au heshimiwa kitendo niite man Texas mwana wale.
Karibu, swali lako ni lipi?
Okay, wameniambia kwamba walipoingia kwa usukani walikuta kama kikapu kina chochote. Kila kitu kimenyofuliwa hakipo. Hao wenye walichukua, mbona wasiitwe wasitakiwe, hiyo mali iweze kurudi, uchumi wa nchi uweze kurekebika, kwa sababu hao watu hawajakufa wapo.
Asante. Radio Taifa, hello. 0700176699. Ameuliza watu ambao inasemekana wamepora mali ya umma, basi mbona hawachukuliwi hatua? Swali la pili, Radio Taifa, hello.
Yes.
Karibu sana, unaitwa nani? Unapiga ukiwa wapi na swali lako ni lipi?
Napiga kutoka Nakuru.
Jina lako nani?
Jina langu ni Shadra.
Karibu, uliza swali. Radio Taifa, hello. Poa sana, karibu. Unauliza swali gani na wewe mwenyewe nani?
Ninaitwa Roberto kutoka Eldoret.
Karibu.
Tatizo ni kwamba wanapiga simu alafu wanajisikiza kwenye redio. Sasa inakuwa tafash. Tafadhali msikilizaji, unapokuja hewani zima sauti ya redio yako. Hiyo Nakuru na Eldoret nimesikia sauti za redio ziko juu Karo.
Kweli. Tafadhali kaa mbali na redio. Radio Taifa, hello.
Radio Taifa.
Karibu sana, unaitwa nani? Unapiga ukiwa wapi na swali lako ni lipi?
Mimi naitwa Ronald Gao.
Yes.
Napiga nikiwa Pipeline.
Karibu sana.
Nauliza mheshimiwa, amesema serikali yao iko na uhuru wa kuongea. Sasa tutaamini nani? Huyu akiongea hivi na yule anaongea hivi.
Asante. Nani wa kumwamini? Radio Taifa, hello.
001.
Yes.
Ni Michael Kamara kutoka Witu.
Karibu sana Michael kutoka Witu. Swali lako ni lipi?
Mimi ningetaka kuuliza wale watu walipora zile pesa, kama ni nani ama ni nani, si wangeshukuliwa hatua alafu ile pesa irudi, alafu ndio tuendelee ile tutaendelea, serikali itaendelea. Na hivyo watafute wale washiriki wa mheshimiwa wetu, wamtafuta, wamwambia apatie nafasi serikali ipate na kazi, ifanye kazi kidogo, angalau imalize mwaka mmoja, tuone kama ushuru utaendelea namna gani, ama sisi tutasaidika namna gani, kwa sababu mvua imenyesha sasa, tunalima, tuone kama hata wale wako town watasaidika namna gani.
Asante. Radio Taifa, hello.
Simu moja ya mwisho. Hello. Haya, tumwache huyu Karo haja kuwa tayari. Asante kwa simu hizo upande huo. Na vile vile pia kuna mmoja hapa ametuma ujumbe, anaitwa Auckland Baba Shelmith. Anasema, kakangu mheshimiwa, mbona anatudanganya? Serikali ya Kenya kwisha, promises without action. Anasema Kenya kwisha, government sleeping on job. Tell mheshimiwa, Azimio don't want nusu mkate. Opposition are doing their job as constitutional require. Sasa wewe ni mjanja. Nyinyi mwajipa jina Azimio, lakini wenzako waita Kenya kwisha. Mbona umjiti munzimia nyinyi? Na mheshimiwa, tuanze na wewe. Na mheshimiwa, tuanze na wewe kujibu maswali. Kuna yule mmoja ameuliza.
Wacha kwanza nianze na ya mambo ya watu wenye kupora mali. Unajua sisi ni watu ambao tunaheshimu sheria. Kwa hivyo sisi sio watu wa kuchukua watu na kurundika wao Friday. Tunawachukua Monday. Sisi ni watu ambao tungetaka kufuata sheria. Kwa hivyo serikali kuna yale ambao inaendelea. Kama ukiangalia bunge kuna ile maneno inaendelea huko ya uchunguzi, na tukishamaliza kila mtu atajua ni nini imefanyika na action zile serikali itachukua. Kwa hivyo ningetaka watu wajue hatuja lala kwa hiyo maneno, lakini tunatumia ile utaratibu wa kisheria. Nafurahia yule mwenzangu wa huku Witu ambaye amesema tungetaka kupatiwa muda kama mwaka moja, mvua imenyesha, na ndio mimi nasema ni muhimu wakati mvua imenyesha tuwe watu ambao tunafanya yale ambao yanaweza kutusaidia. Ni kweli watu wangetaka mambo ifanyike haraka, na ndio naelewa hapa ile anxiety ya ni nini. Lakini lazima tujue kama sisi hata kulikuwa na mambo ile ya KBC, ile mambo ya mashule. Unajua hiyo ni kazi gumu sana, vile kuipanga, kutengeneza zile laboratories zinatakikana kwa zile junior secondary school. Kuna mambo ya ni ya muhimu sana ambao tunatakikana tuwe tunayazungumzia, kwa sababu tusipoangalia mambo ya watoto wetu, nchi hii inaweza kuwa nchi ambao haiwezi compete na zile zingine. Kwa hivyo nawaelewa, lakini sisi vile tumekataa kabisa ni kuongea maneno ndio watu wafurahi. Ati sasa president aje pale aseme nataka kuinua minimum wage, watu wapige makofi. Nataka kufanya hii, wapige makofi, lakini haiwezekani. Ile tunasema ni lazima tuelewe kama ni mishahara ya watu na serikali haina, tunaambia wananchi mishahara itachelewa kwa sababu sisi hatujaweza kutafuta pesa ndio tujiripe. Lakini hii story ati tukimbie kuokopa pesa ndio sasa tufurahishe watu, hii ndio imetumaliza. Kwa hivyo mimi ningewauliza na wale wote ambao wamepiga simu na naona ni ili kuna anxiety ya kufanya vitu haraka ama sema yale mambo ya kufurahisha watu kwa muda, lakini wakati huu hii nchi ni lazima we must be honest to ourselves. We must explain to people pahali tuko, na ndio tuweze kujitoa kwa ile mashimo tuko. Lakini mambo ya kufurahisha hiyo haitaisaidia. Kwa hivyo mimi nasikia ati Kenya kwisha, lakini hiyo story ningesema hiyo ni kama ile ya kupiga sufuria ya kupiga, lakini huna jawabu ama plan ya kusaidia watu. Kwa hivyo mimi nafurahia kwa wananchi, kwa sababu inaonyesha kila pahali watu wanasikiliza hii radio, na ninaona kabisa watu wako alert. Kwa hivyo mimi nafurahi.
Asante wakili. Baadhi ya simu hizi wasikilizaji ambao ni Wakenya wameelezea hisia zao, sijui unaweza ukajibu vipi tofauti na alivyojibu mheshimiwa engineer hapa?
Yangu ni mawili, Rashid. Ya kwanza, mheshimiwa amekuwa akiuzia ile mambo kwamba ile pande nyingine nataka waombe pesa. Hakuna mtu amewaambia waombe pesa. Wafanye chochote kile wanaweza fanya ili waweze kusaidia wananchi wa Kenya. Hilo ndio jukumu walipewa, na wanafaa kuonesha kwamba wanaweza kulikabidhi hilo jukumu. Sasa ya kwanza, si ukweli kwamba hii serikali haijaomba pesa. Ile comparison ilifanywa na Daily Nation ilionyesha kwamba hii serikali imeomba pesa mingi kuliko ile Uhuru walikuwa wameomba kwa hii muda yenye wamekuwa katika serikali. So mheshimiwa akisema,
lakini hilo litathibitishwa na serikali ama gazeti?
Gazeti ndio ilisema hiyo, unajua zile facts walikuwa wamekusanya, mimi siko hapo.
But magazeti tu walisema tutashinda tukashida.
Of course anaweza kata. But sasa but si ukweli kwamba ukweli ni kwamba wameomba pesa. Wasisema wasijaomba, wameomba pesa. Na hii pesa tunatarajia kama wameomba watuambie wamefanyia nini haswa, kwa sababu ile maisha sisi hatutaki kujua wameomba ama wajaomba. Wanataka kujua maisha ya mwananchi ambayo ile ya kila siku, day to day, inakuwaje rahisi, because hiyo ndio kitu cha muhimu. Ya pili, sijui kwamba mheshimiwa anajua kwamba Dar es Salaam sasa iko na tea auction. Tea is the largest export tunafanya pale Kenya, na saa hii Dar es Salaam imefungua yake. Hii tea auction ya Kenya ndio ilikuwa inashikilia hii region yote from Malawi, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda na nini. Sasa Tanzania imefungua yao. Sasa kuna competition. So ile mtaji yenye tulikuwa unapata from tea export sasa iko threatened. Kidogo hatujaona mtu yote akiongelea hiyo mambo, na hiyo ni kitu ambayo ina affect wa Kenya wengi, because there are over 600,000 farmers wanashughulikia katika mambo ya chai. Na hii inafanya hata wale private investors wale wako na hizi largest tea farms kidogo wakiona ile ya Mombasa wasaidii, wanaweza enda kuuza chai yao pale Dar es Salaam. Kidogo hiyo ni kitu ambayo kama Wakenya tunafaa kukua, kama ule waziri wa agriculture akuwe macho na makini kutuambia ni nini tunafanya ili kurudisha wale farmers wengine pale. So kuna mambo ambayo tunafaa kuangalia kama serikali iweze kusaidia Wakenya, na kidogo hii siasa wanapiga hapa na opposition na itusaidii, because wao ndio wako usukani, na tunatarajia watuambie nafanya hili na hili na hili. Opposition kama wananungunika, wacha wanungunike, but tupe ile story, where do you want to take us? Hiyo ndio muhimu, inasaidia Wakenya. Opposition watafanya mambo yao because ni siasa, na lakini kuna haki yao ya kufanya yale.
Rashid, yes mheshimiwa. Unajua ndugu yangu na mheshimu sana, lakini kama wewe ungekuwa mtu Rwanda ama Uganda na usikie watu napiga masufuria kwa barabara, utapitisha chai yako hapa Kenya ama utapitisha pahali pengine?
Utapitisha pahali pengine.
Ni lazima hata wakati wa kupiga hiyo masufuria watu wajiulize wanauza Kenya vipi. Kuna wakati hawa watu wa maandamano walikuwa wanang'oa reli. Mpaka Uganda wakasema sasa nyinyi watu ya kung'oa reli, sasa sisi tutafanya nini? Ukaona wa Uganda wanaanza mipango ingine, just in case kuna shida Kenya tunaweza pitia kule. Ni lazima hata wakati tunatoka kwa barabara tunajiuliza sisi tunauza nchi yetu kwa wale wengine vipi? If we find ourselves that we are not secure place for people kufanya biashara, kupitisha mali zao, watu will look for an alternative. Na what sisi tunatakikana tufanye ni kuhakikisha hata kama tunatoka lolote tunafanya tusiharibie nchi yetu ile sifa. Kwa sababu sio lazima watu wapitishe hapa. Sio lazima sasa maandamano maroli hazipita tuseme kwenda Rwanda. Si watatafuta njia nyingine. Alafu hata maroli zile zinapita hapa, hata zikienda Rwanda ni watu wetu ndio huwa madriver. Ama wenye maroli. Sasa ile mimi naomba ni sisi kama wa Kenya, kama uko na plan ambayo ni mzuri kuliko ile tuko naye, leta. Sasa tuko na hasla fund sisi. Tumesema hii ndio pesa tunataka kusaidia wale ambao wako na biashara zao za chini. Wewe upande ule mwingine umesuggest nini? Umetuambia nini? Ndio sasa tuseme tukiangalia plan yetu na yenu sisi tunaweza kuomba yenu. Lakini kama sisi tunasema hasra fund kwa wale ambao wanaona na biashara ndogo, wewe unawaambia wacheni biashara zenu, kujeni kwa barabara, tupige kelele, jioni watafanya nini? Wewe unaenda kulala Karen ama wapi, chakula kizuri, tabu iko na joto na nini. Wale wengine mlikuwa nao barabara
wananuka jasho.
Sasa
Mheshimiwa, shikilieni hapo, tuna dakika 4 kuweza kumaliza kipindi, na kuna swala moja muhimu lazima niwaulize. Nikianza na wewe Mheshimiwa Engineer Karege. Wakati mwingi katika taifa letu la Kenya unashuhudia kwamba kukiwa na sintofahamu ndio wito unatolewa eti viongozi waonyeshe leadership. Na kwa sasa tumeona viongozi wa makanisa, viongozi wa mashirika ya kibinafsi, mabalozi wa nchi mbalimbali wametoa wito kuwe na ile leadership kati ya kiongozi wa upinzani na Rais William Ruto. Kiupande wako kwa dakika moja, je, unahisi wawili hawa, kiongozi wa upinzani na Rais William Ruto, wameonyesha uongozi katika masuala yanayotukumba kwa sasa?
Mimi kwa upande wangu, kwa sababu siwezi kuongea kwa upande ule mwingine, nimeona president akisema yale ambao mnataka tuongee. Tumepeana platform, watu waongee. Wale watu ambao wamesajitiwa waende wakaongea mama ni watu ambao wamechaguliwa, sio watu kutoka huku. Ni watu ambao kama mwakili Amoro ako pale na kinechunga na nani. Hao watu wanatakikana kupatiwa nafasi waongee. Kama kuna mambo hawawezi kutatua, then unaweza kuuliza mazungumzo at another level. Lakini right now ni mzuri wapatiwe nafasi. Lile lingine, kuna wale jamaa ati kwa sababu kama Keinani ameletwa, Mheshimiwa Keinani huyu ako na demokrasia yake ya ni upande gani angetaka kuwa. Lakini huwezi kusema wewe ulikuwa wangu na ni lazima ukae. Hata wao ambao wako kwa upinzani kuna wakati walikuwa upande mwingine, si ndio? Sasa wako upande fulani. Sasa si watu wapatiwe ruhusa na hiyo demokrasia ya mtu kujiunga na wale anataka kuunga nao. Lakini ile subject ambao watakuwa wanazungumzia ni ya Kenya, nao ni wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo huwezi kuniambia ati kwa sababu last election ulikuwa upande ule, wewe umetoka kuwa Mkenya. No, you have also interest in this country. Now, what they should have done ni watu wapatu wasungumzie, alafu kisha sungumzia tujue ni yapi ya bunge, ni ya wapi. Kwa hivyo mimi upande wetu president ameonyesha that yeye anahitaji kusikia maoni ya wale wengine ni nini. Lakini unajua yeye hana kifunguo ya sava.
Shikilia hapo Mheshimiwa, tupate kauli yake ya wakili Gibson kabla ya kuweza kumaliza kipindi. Je, unahisi viongozi hawa wawili wa upinzani na rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya wameonyesha uongozi bora wakati huu ambapo kuna sintofahamu?
Maoni yangu ni kwamba Rashid hawajaonyesha hiyo uongozi bora, especially ile katika at the top level kidogo hiyo uongozi imewaponyoka, kwa sababu kuna mambo kidogo ambayo kama hii ya kuzungumza katika parliament tulikuwa tunatarajia kwamba waweze kukua wamesuluhisha hii mambo, because mtu anaumia ni Mkenya. Hii ndio wanafaa waangalie tena zaidi. Rais akiongea anafaa kufikiria Mkenya. opposition wakiongea wanafaa kufikiria Wakenya. Kidogo hatujaona hiyo, kwa sababu zile interest wanaanza kuleta nyinyi mmeleta huyu na sisi hatutaki huyu. Kidogo those are petty issues ambazo wanaweza kuagree ama to disagree, but the main thing ikuwe ni ile ya kusaidia Mkenya ili tuweze kuendelea mbele. Sasa ukiangalia katika zile countries zingine, kwa sababu ya siasa yetu, countries zingine zimeweza kuendelea mbele. Ni muhimu mheshimiwa anasema kwamba hii ya kupiga sufuria ndio inafanya Rwanda isipitishe chai hapa. Hilo pia inaweza kuwa, but inachangia, but muhimu ni ile sera ya serikali. Serikali inafanya nini kuconvince wale ambao wanafanya farming hata within wasiweze kuenda pale nje. Ama hizi countries zingine zifanye Kenya izikuwe na imani na Kenya kwamba unaweza fanya biashara hapa, serikali itakuwa inadhibiti hali ya kufanya biashara. Hiyo ndio kitu cha muhimu ili tuweze kupata uchumi wetu uweze kupanda, ili hali ya maisha iweze kushuka. Hayo ndio mambo muhimu. Na kingine mheshimiwa amekuwa akisisitiza ni kwamba maandamano ikifanyika ni kama wao agenda zao zinapotea. Wanazisahau, wanaanza kusema hii maandamano imefanya tusiweze kuconcentrate. Ukiwa unaenda safari, wanasema katika Kizungu kuna ile saying kwamba ukiwa unaenda safari huwezi kuwa unasimama kusikia kila umbwa ikipweka uanze kuirusha mawe, utafika kwa hiyo safari. So yangu ni kuomba wafanye safari yao, wafikishe Wakenya mahali waliwapromise, wachane na mambo ya umbwa zinabweka.
Haya, tukisalia hapo hapo kwako, sekunde 30 kwa msikilizaji na mtazamaji anayekutizama kwa sasa, una ujumbe gani wakili Gibson Gisore?
Ujumbe wangu ni kwamba Kenya ni yetu sisi wote, tuweze kuwa all hands on deck ili tuweze kusukuma hii Kenya mbele, na wale viongozi wako pale mbele waweze kuonesha leadership ya the highest level na kukuwa very patriotic. Hiyo ndio inaweza tusaidia.
Asante sana ndugu Gibson Gisore, wakili na vile vile pia mchanganuzi wetu wa masuala ya kisiasa. Nirudi kwako Engineer Kiragu Chege, na wewe kwa sekunde 30 utufungie kipindi. Una ujumbe gani kwa Wakenya?
Kwa Wakenya wote ningetaka kuwauliza, wakati huu wa mvua, tafadhali tutumie wakati wetu kwa kutumia hali ya mvua kupanda, kuangalia mashamba yetu ndio tuweze kupata chakula. Lile lingine kwa wale wenzetu wa upinzani, ningewauliza waache mambo ya maandamano. Kama ni maandamano ya kupeleka hizi petitions, tafadhali kuna emails na kuna WhatsApp, watumie hizo ndio disrupt ile maneno ya hali ya maisha ya wananchi. Kama kuna jambo ambalo wangetaka upande wetu tuyazungumzie, tumesema mambo inaweza kuja bunge, na kwa sababu sisi kama vile mwenzangu amesema, sisi ni Wakenya, hatuondoki hapa. Sisi kama kuna mtu ambaye ako na jawabu nzuri kuliko zile tuko nazo, anaweza kudocument atutumie ama asungumzie kwa redio ama nini, na ndio sisi na sisi tujue kuna njia ya kusaidia nchi yetu, kwa sababu hii nchi yetu tuko na bahati sana.
Asante mheshimiwa, muda haunasi, tutazungumza zaidi. Niseme shukran sana kwa kuweza kuja ndani ya studio, na vile vile pia asante sana wakili kwa kuweza kuja ndani ya studio. Mtazamaji, mambo ni mengi, wakati ndio huo. Niweze tu kuwashukuru waheshimiwa ambao wamekuja ndani ya studio. Engineer Kiragu Chege, mbunge wa Limuru, nilipokuwa nikimwona ametulia ni mpole, nikasema leo kweli atazungumza, kumbe anaongea. Na vile vile pia tumekuwa naye Gibson Gisore ambaye ni mchanganuzi wa masuala ya kisiasa. Mara nyingi utampata katika vipindi vyetu. Mtazamaji, basi kwa niaba ya mwenzangu upande wa pili wa studio Caroline Mramba aka mtoto mzuri, ndo nimpe nafasi aweze kumkaribisha Maranga tusomee taarifa za habari. Kwa niaba ya wote ambao wamefanikisha kipindi hiki, shukrani za dhati bwana Michael Ndetei, afisa mkuu anayesimamia vipindi katika runinga ya KBC Channel 1. Shukrani sana Bi Mary Daraja, afisa msimamizi wa idara ya vipindi kwenye shirika la utangazaji nchini KBC na kitengo ambacho kimehusika chini ya Martin Kingasia. Asante Geoffrey Onditi, Bi Lucy Wahome mtayarishi wa kipindi hiki, mafundi wetu wa mitambo upande wa redio kiongozwa na ndugu Kimani, na vile vile pia wapiga picha wangu hapa ndani ya studio, waume kwa wanawake, bila kuwasahau madirector wangu Ben Kamuti na vile vile pia Martin Njeru. Mimi nimekuwa mtangazaji wako, jina langu naitwa Rashid Mamkondo, na waregesha upande wa pili wa studio kipindi GMK kinaendelea. Usicheze mbali. Kwa herini.
Nairobi, Kenya.
abantu ba Mintombu yamole.
Your favorite Ekegusi station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest Kisi music, informative and entertaining shows only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii and its environs.
Minto FM in Nyamira in Nyamira.
Why are you here? Long time no see.
My God. Everyone, I officially announce, as of today, Larry has been promoted to the position of General Manager. Welcome!
How come you're here?
Remember I said I would take the interview? So now you know that I'm diviner.
And you?
How pathetic that two bachelors know each other so well. So, before our relationship gets too awkward, I'm going to leave.
Now, according to the Autism Society of Kenya, they do indicate that 1 in every 25 children suffer from autism. And yes, much as the previous month in April was the Autism Awareness Month, today we track the progress of creation of awareness of this condition, what exactly leads to autism, and what interventions have been made by various agencies. That is what forms base of our conversation. And for the same, I have created FaceTime with Peter Musheru to my far left, far right, I should say, who is a speech and language therapist and also special needs education consultant. And right next to him is Stephen Degwam, who's the father of a child with autism and also a caregiver. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let me just start with you, Peter. Very quickly, just help us understand what exactly is autism and what causes this.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Doreen.
Yeah.
My name is Peter Musheru, a speech language therapist and also special needs consultant. Thank you. This is a good morning for us. Having come from the Autism Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So we are just wrapping it up in a style. So thank you very much. So when we ask about autism, autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder, meaning that it affects the brain. So it affects the brain of a child, the way the brain develops, so the child is not able to do much of the things that we'll consider to be very normal, that they are done by other children. So a child with autism will have a problem with interacting with the environment, will have a problem in communication, will have a challenge in social skills and social interaction and doing activities of daily living. So autism will generally affect many areas of the child's development. Mm-hmm. You asked about the causes of autism.
Yeah.
We don't have yet the results on the research because it's there are many theories that are trying to explain the causes of autism. One of them being genetic causes. And the researchers are still arguing about it because you realize that currently there are children with autism with the families not having any background about the same condition. But also you realize there are some families which have a child with autism, and the second and third child after birth they happened also to have autism. So those are some points of contention.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's about the causes, it's something that is under under research. Yes.
So basically from what you're saying is that where we sit right now, the year 2023, we really can't pinpoint what exactly causes autism. We can't link it to genetic, we can't link it to lifestyle. There's really no specificity.
There is no
As far as this
specificity.
condition is concerned.
Yeah, there is no specificity. It's not specific on what really is the cause of autism, because also there are some theories that are talking about the environmental factors, like there is what currently we are talking about, the virtual autism. Virtual autism, too much pre-exposure of a child at a very tender age to the screens. It's also being believed to be a cause of autism, which also it's not evidence-based, so nobody can attest to that. Now, the others are saying what the mothers are taking as family planning. There are so many theories around this, yes.
Well, it's quite interesting because, I mean, treating something that you really do not know the exact cause, I can't imagine can be an uphill task.
Yes, sure.
Stephen, this has been your experience with your son for the past 13 years.
Yes.
Just tell me, when this happened, what was going through your mind? Had you ever heard about autism? Was it something new to you? Just what was this?
Yeah, I remember the boy is my third born. So the first two children were normal, and I really would not say that I was hands-on as such, because then there was the house girl, caregivers and all that. Then when I got now the third born, we saw that at 2 years, I found that he's not giving us eye contact. Just like that, you know, you're just there, and you're calling him, he's playing around, and then you're trying to, but you can see he's not giving you eye contact. So I told the mother, this could be autism. And it's like God prepares you for some things, because I read about autism somewhere, just fleetingly, and I saw autism, some of the signs. Either I think it was in my mind, so I just saw it, and then I read a bit about it. So when I saw this boy is not giving us eye contact, then I suspected, what is the problem? How come he's not giving, I mean, he's avoiding consciously, you see? And he's just over 2 years old. So ultimately now he started exhibiting the other symptoms of autism, being hyper, not being able to sleep properly. Then you can see he still had some delayed milestones. Other kids are doing some things, and then by 3 years he was not having speech, and you can see other kids are having speech and so forth. So we saw, no, this has to. So we took him to various doctors. He did so many tests, you know, ear tests to see whether he's hearing, and blood tests, neurological tests. But ultimately, we were told your son is autistic, and that
this is after how long?
Let's say at 3 years. It's when now we were
I'm saying in terms of the series of tests.
Yes.
Because you realize that the more you keep taking time, the further the condition continues to worsen.
Yes.
So at 2 years, then you start realizing this signs that you're telling us.
Yes.
Then you begin taking him to different specialists. So by the time he was diagnosed with autism, it was after how long?
I think it took us about, let's say, a stretch of a year.
Just for the diagnosis to be
Yes,
made.
well, because you're not taking him daily, you're taking him after a month, you take him for this. Then this doctor continues, says, okay, go and take him for this other test. Then you stay for a bit, then these other tests, you know. So in the meantime, you're still in denial, because you're like, okay, other kids don't have to have speech, you know. And I remember, like, when I was growing up, I had also issues with speech. I stammered for some time, and I was hyper and all that. So I could see, according to what I was told by my mother when I was and my parents in general, when I was young, I had some traits, you know, that were not normal. And so when I saw the same traits in my son, then I said, yeah, these are genetics now playing. But only that now was severe, you know. He couldn't speak. When I could stammer him, he can't speak at all. Even though he still doesn't have speech. You know, he can't write. He can't coordinate a few things. So it took us some time, either through denial or just the trial and error thing, until now we said, okay, now he's autistic. And by that time, after 3 years, is when now it became haywire. I think when now it was official that he has, the journey started. It was quite, a rough ride. Yeah.
And we'll come to that journey, because also you're telling us that at 13, even now, he can't speak,
Yes.
He can, right? So, and this is actually the formative ages of any person at your teens.
Yes.
Where a lot of activities would take place for any person.
Absolutely.
So I'd also want you to tell us how that experience looks like.
Yeah.
But then Peter, you just listen to what Stephen is saying and you realize also there's a case of late diagnosis. So then from your practice and from where you sit, do you feel that there's also not so much insight and knowledge even from practitioners? Because taking you a whole year to diagnose a condition to which, just as Stephen is saying, there were some pinpointers. It could be autism. Not quite sure, but it could be. But a whole year to diagnose this condition, what do you read from this?
I think in Kenya there is a challenge in late diagnosis because many of the clients or many of the children that come to us, they come to us late, from 3 years.
Even from me as a speech therapist?
Yes, from 3 years and above. Yeah. But for autism mainly, it's also difficult to diagnose it early. But as he says, you can see the red flags. One thing I tell my parents is that always trust your conscience. Whenever you see you are not sure about something, but you've seen something in your child, please take action immediately. Don't wait. As you say, there is a big challenge even in the medical fraternity because even the pediatrician who are supposed to take care of these children don't even know what autism is all about. So they keep on telling them, kindly wait, the child will talk. They will talk after, they will talk. Let's take them to, let's do this. Just go home and wait. So there is that challenge of wait and see that is also causing a big problem. I thank him because he was able to realize that too. But again, taking a whole year for diagnosis to be given, it was a bit of long time. But that's basically the average time that it takes here in Kenya, because he'll be sent from one specialist to the other, starting from before he learns. He'll start maybe with his pediatrician, a general practitioner, who will also tell them to wait. And as they wait, the time is approaching for school. Many of them got fears that I don't want to take my child back to school, because also many schools are not accepting them because they have not achieved the basic life skills, like taking themselves to the potty, right? So as they continue also looking forward, where are we going to get the schools, where are we going to get the specialists, then time is still moving. After they go maybe for before they get, maybe along the way they meet someone who can refer them to someone. Also when they go to that someone, maybe a specialist who can also be able to diagnose, the queue is also very huge. So they are given several months to wait for their appointment to be seen. And when they are seen, there is also a series of tests that must be done by specific doctors or specific people. So that's why maybe it takes a little bit longer in Kenya just to diagnose what autism is. Yes.
So by this time, a year is done, almost a year and a half, almost 2 years even for some.
Sure.
Some would even go beyond 2 years.
Yes.
But there's something that you did say, and I want you to elucidate a bit on that even some pediatricians don't have knowledge of this. They don't really know exactly what this is, autism. That's something that they will tell you, just wait a bit. After 3 years, 4 years, they'll begin speaking, and they'll even give you a series of examples of different children here and there, but this is a different case you're dealing with. What would you attribute this to, the lack of insight? Because much as it will take a bit of time because of taking to specialist X, Y, and Z, but by the time you get to this specialist, they need to, just by observing also, they need to be able to tell you firsthand, this is it, so then you can begin taking precaution if need be, or you can begin treatment if need be. But you go there after this 2 years and they tell you, just wait a bit. So you can imagine if you've already taken 2 years to reach this person, you finally get to this person and they tell you, no, just begin speaking. So again, you waste another year, another waiting. 2 years waiting. What would you attribute this to, the lack of this insight? Is it they're not being taught this in med school? What exactly is this? How can we arrest this situation?
Sure. I think autism is a dynamic condition and it's unfolding slowly. We are very happy that it's unfolding. So knowledge is getting out. When you see kind of film, they are really making noise about autism. Knowledge about autism is going out. I held a seminar, I think somewhere, is it last year, June, with the pediatricians in Nakuru.
Yeah.
It's the same challenge. Most of them didn't even know that speech therapists exist. Yes, they didn't know that speech therapists exist, and they didn't know what a who is a speech therapist. So it was an interactive session with them, and I really got to know that many of them lack that knowledge. Yeah, mainly because autism is a new phenomenon in Kenya. Some of them were trained, if you look and see many of the pediatricians are very old doctors, true or false.
So that could also be the reason.
Could be, when they were training, this was not a condition then that was given any attention.
As is now.
Yes, as it is being given now. So as they continue treating, maybe that's why we are told to continue doing what we call continuous professional developments. So maybe we also need to ask from KMPDU if they still follow up on the emerging issues, so that we can be able to give our client, the society, we can be able to address their needs at this time and era. Because at 2023, us saying that we can't understand about autism and it's too much on the field, I guess there is a big problem. Number two is that many of them, even if they know autism, they don't know what to do with it.
That's also a challenge.
That's also a challenge. I know now, like in Nairobi, we have a few who are neurodevelopmental pediatricians. Those are specifically trained to deal with the child and the way they develop. I think we have one at Aga Khan, we have another one at Gertrude's, and also Dr. Omondi in Kenyatta National Hospital. Those are the majorly places where children are taken to. And before they are taken to these places, the whole process before, get to know that I can go to Aga Khan and get this help, or to this and get this help, these parents, they walk a lot. Walking to their doctor's back. Okay. Some are given even medication just to suppress the hyperactivity, which is I think it's a wrong procedure of the treatment of autism.
I hear you.
Yes.
And that's what I mean, you are here also just for you as Stephen,
yes,
because you also are a member of an organization that does a lot of awareness creation, you know, for this condition. But even as you tie that to now your story, I mean, at 13 years, your son cannot be able to do what would be termed as very basic, like writing. Like the speech, reading and speak. This, how do you handle this? I mean, schools learning.
I think the first thing is acceptance, because I will not beat the doctor so much, because even when you go to look at the research in the West, it is still unfolding. There's a lot of knowledge that is still, there's a lot of trial and error, research.
You can't really tie whether it's genetic, it's hereditary, is it lifestyle?
It's difficult to put, and it's so vast, you know. That's why it's called attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, because it manifests differently in different children. Now, for my son, for example,
it's never static. Like, this is actually how it does. Different children, different persons, different phenomena.
If you meet 5 children with autism, those are 5 individuals.
And
so
then
treat them differently.
And then you'll get dyslexia. There's those who have, like Down syndrome. It's a whole spectrum. So getting now to when they say your son has Down syndrome and then has dyslexia, and then has autism, they behave almost like in the same sphere, but they are different, they have different needs, neurological needs.
Yes.
So it's emerging, yes, and the doctors here, even in us now, as you can see, I was one of the pioneers of the Differently Talented Society of Kenya, which brings together parents especially, and caregivers of children with autism. So we just share ideas. And the way Peter has said, some things now we have ruled out, things like giving these children medication, that is wrong. There are other ways of intervention, like using diet is especially very important. That is how you start. They say, for example, kids with autism have compromised gut. So avoid giving them things that seep into the system because they're not digested. Things like sugar, especially processed sugar, things like gluten, which is found in wheat and products, and preservatives in certain foods and so forth. When they seep into the blood, they're not processed by the system. So they seep into the system, they go to the brain, and they trigger a lot of hyperactivity. So we have learned ourselves at home to live by the day in terms of now taking care of him. We took him to a school and for about 4 years, but we saw that the school, because it was not a special school, we have avoided taking him to a special school, but ultimately now, because he's 13 and is growing up to be a small man, we may need now to also push him out and take him to a school, even if it's special, yes, but where now they have a lot of activities that, because all we need for him now to do is to take care of himself. Yes. Because we have trained him to like brush, but he still cannot brush like, you know, a boy his age, you know, brush properly. He just take the brush and pass it on his teeth. But when you now want his teeth to be clean, you'll have now to give it that thrust, you see. If it's things like showering, he has the concept, he'll take the shower, you know, whatever, the shower funnel and try to, but he won't like scrub himself all over. So someone has to be there to do it for him, you see. So it's a challenge, but again, I think, as I said, acceptance is the first thing. Once you accept that condition, that he has neurological challenges like, you know, that need special attention, you start from there. And then you start now molding him to taking care of himself. So it's a, they say autism is a journey. It is, because even those who are there, you'll find people telling you, my son is 30 years. And they say that, you know, yesterday we had visitors and the man, a 30-year-old man, the mother is over 40, I mean, it's like 50. But she said, my son now, he came from upstairs, bang, naked, you know. So you can see he's 30, but you never know how he reacts at any particular moment. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. There are those who are high functioning. They can move from one point to the other. They can take a matatu, for example, and come to town and go back home. But like my son at his age, you cannot even leave his hand in public. You cannot dare, because he'll either jump to the road or he'll just, you know, take flight. You know, things like those. So it is a spectrum that manifests differently. And the best thing for parents is to get into these different organizations that are there. And in Kenya, I think what I've said, the Different Talent Society of Kenya has many members, and that is a good starting point.
I hear you.
Yes, then you hear people talk about their experiences, you network with parents who will take you, no, don't take your kids to this doctor because he gives medication for epilepsy and for other neurological disorders.
I hear you.
And then people will talk about diet, they'll take, and so recommendations is the way to go right now. As we also hope that research will come up and tell us exactly what are the maybe surefire ways of curbing the condition.
Well said, I hear you. And we have about 5 minutes to exit this space. And Peter, I'll give you the last word on recommendations, also from your practice as a speech therapist. But before then, Steve, you have Heart for Men and bringing more men on board as far as managing this condition is concerned. Just talk to me about that and the initiative that you have for this, and why specifically bringing more men on board to help even the women, or to even just help their children with dealing with this autism.
I think, thank you. I think for men, they have been lambasted, you know, across the board, not just because of autism, but poor parenting skills for men, But nowadays, I find a lot of men actually taking care of kids. You see them in town holding children, helping their mothers, you know, and their wives and so forth with the kids. So it needs to be a culture that is more, especially special needs kids. I was a judge for a recent, a recent competition called Baba na Mama Autism, where we were gifting parents of children who take care of autism, the mothers and the fathers. And you find that out of all the contestants, there were only 2 men. And one was a sibling, the other was a father who was co-parenting with the mother. So there were no fathers who came to support that. And I think it's a high time that fathers maybe there's going to be, because if I was not present in my child's, you know, upbringing, I think half of what he has achieved will not be achievable. And it's not even just finances, but finances are critical. They're very critical because it's very expensive to take care of children with autism. But just that presence of making sure that you are there to see the milestones, to push things, you know, when they need to be pushed and so forth. So I would request other men to really come out and let us support our women, let's support mothers to bring up, special needs children, because as it is a very huge task, and just for the sake of the kids, if nothing else, for the sake of these children.
Yeah, and I feel like we need to have a different forum to just discuss the treatment options and the cost of treatment for this condition, but now we are strained for time and really can't quite do that. Perhaps we need to get another session for that. But then as we wrap up, Peter, recommendations, listening to just also borrowing from Steve's story and from your practice, what you've gathered, what is this that perhaps you could tell parents, for instance, caregivers, guardians, who this is their daily practice?
Number one is just to appreciate them for the work that they are doing. Number two, I will tell them, let's start early. Early intervention is key. And number three, let's try to start it early and start it right. Maybe, do we know whom we need to start with? They into therapies. Therapists do very well. We start with occupation therapists very early. We do speech therapy. Therapists do work. We have so many cases that have recovered with time. Also, they get a good school. I know they do assessment at Kenya Institute of Special Needs Education, but again, I sometimes question because they are told to go to a regular school. Let them also ask several questions when they are given such recommendation. When we take our child to a regular school, which support do they need? So the parents need to be informed. Also, as he says in their forums, let them also sit back and think, and also go through the reports that we give as practitioners, so that to see and know if it worked with another child, what do they exactly need, so that they don't keep on beating around the bush. Because many parents, like now he's saying, there are those with children who are 30 years and above. I know there are those who are being diagnosed today. We don't need to do the same mistake again today that was done 30 years ago. So we need to, in our support group, we really talk and mentor the young parents who are being diagnosed.
I hear you. And I mean, just when I hear you say that, just orients my mind to really think of the many questions that we really perhaps could converse around this issue, because you realize there's quite a lot. You can imagine someone being diagnosed at the age of 30.
Yeah.
They've lived 30 years only for you to realize all this while this was autism. I mean, what are some of those missing links and loopholes for this to have happened? But I believe we need to have another session for, for just to interrogate more further on this issue of autism. Nonetheless, that's all the time we had for this particular conversation. And I do highly appreciate your time and valuable inputs into the same.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana. I'll be speaking to Peter Musheru, to my far right, who's a speech and language therapist, also a special needs education consultant. And right next to him is Stephen Degwa, father of a child with autism and also a caregiver. Definitely what has formed center of this discussion is looking at autism and where we are as a country as far as treatment, management and diagnosis of this condition is concerned. Good place to end this particular conversation, but we still have something else after this break. We'll look at the steel industry and how this aids to the manufacturing sector. That coming away after this breather. Don't go anywhere.
It is Nuremberg at home against Stuttgart, and this is a repeat of the final almost 16 years ago.
VfB Stuttgart's 1-0 win over FC Nuremberg secured them a place in the last four for the first time since reaching the final in 2013.
And this is Enzo Milo! Enzo Milo to score! The substitute has done it! And he's done it in style!
On the other hand, Eintracht Frankfurt's 2-0 home win over Union Berlin kept the Europa League holders on track for what will be a sixth German Cup win and the first since 2018. Witness this interesting semi-final DFB Pokal match between VfB Stuttgart and Eintracht Frankfurt kicking off at 9:45 p.m. on Wednesday, 3rd of May. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Why are you here? Long time no see.
My God. Everyone, I officially announce, as of today, Larry has been promoted to the position of General Manager. Welcome!
How come you're here?
Remember I said I would take the interview? So now you know that I'm diviner.
And you?
How pathetic that two bachelors know each other so well. So, before our relationship gets too awkward, I'm going to leave.
Welcome back again to the program. We definitely appreciate your valid company, and we continue our pace with the show. We now want to look at matters entrepreneurship, and we look at the steel industry and the steel company, so to speak, and how this aids in the manufacturing sector of this country. And for the same, I'll be speaking to Crispin Odhiambo, who's the CEO, Kwetu Steel Doctors, or they call you the Steel Doctor.
Yeah, Steel Doctor.
The steel. What's in the name? Why do they call you that?
The name I got from other fundis.
Yeah.
Because my work was to do what it is unbelievable.
What is that's unbelievable?
The thing that you cannot believe that guy has been, so they just nicknamed me Steel Doctor.
Steel Doctor.
And then I pick it like that. Yeah.
Because of your work.
Because of my work.
I mean, you know, anytime you talk about entrepreneurship, Crispin, especially for young people, good number of persons will say this is because there was nothing else to do. Maybe you studied course X, you tried looking for a job, you couldn't get a job, so entrepreneurship was the only resort. Whilst for others will say, right now, think beyond the box. Think beyond what you went to school to do. Just look at how you can get your hands active and how you can be hands-on. And so think entrepreneurship. So for you, what is your story into getting into entrepreneurship and business?
It has not been easy with me because even I dropped out of school when I started this.
Yeah.
I had no school fee. So I say, I have to go for this. This course, I did not want to do it in any college. I just went in a local welding workshops. Yeah. So from there, I studied how to do things, new things. Yeah. I went to internet to search the new designs that are not locally made here. Yes. That is how I started.
So you ideally self-taught yourself, so to speak?
Yeah.
Ulijifunza mwenyewe?
Mimi mwenyewe nilijifunza.
To do this?
To do this.
And you getting into the steel industry in this sector of manufacturing was not in your mind. You just had to. It was a means.
It was not in my mind because I had no option.
You had no option.
Hakuna yule mtu atanifunza shule. So I came out myself and said, no, let me go for what is in my hand.
Yeah.
But I came to love it.
Over time you embraced what you're doing.
Yeah.
When was this? Which year was this?
It was 2013.
2013.
Because I dropped out in Form 3.
Yeah. So you've been in the business for the past 7 years?
10 years now.
10 years now. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, 2013. 10 years,
10 years,
I should say.
Yeah.
How has business been like?
It has not been easy, like I mentioned previously. First of all, I was employed. my boss.
After you dropped out of school?
After I dropped out of
You were
school,
employed.
I just began mtu wa kupaka rangi. Napaka rangi at least nipate kitu.
Yeah.
So on the kupaka rangi, I got one of the fundi. He told me, young guy, wewe ni mtu wa kushika kitu haraka. What you can do, kuja hapa nikufunze. So I was like, kwa rangi niko kwa kufunza. From hapo kufunzwa nikashika laini ya kwanza kuweld. After 6 months nikapata laini. From there nikasema let me come out of this, nitafute kazi. So I went to Meru town. Meru town nikapata boss kanifunza, nikamwambia najua lakini sijui sana. So from there nikakaa naye for 5 years. After kukaa naye 5 years akakuja tu akanipenda kabisa. Nilikuwa nalipwa 200 per day. So ilisonga akinifundisha, nikaanza kupata 500 per day. Ikasonga, nikamwambia no, I don't want per day. I need a piece work. Because of that piece work, nilikuwa naweza fanya even 1,500 in a day. So after there akaona amukena, kanambia no, let me settle venye sasa nitakuwa nakulipa, and we had agreed 40,000 per month. Nikashika nikaona now I'm past 40,000. Let me start mine.
So you began your own.
I began my own.
The Kwetu?
No, from there it was not Kwetu still.
It wasn't Kwetu still.
I start with the Criscom Steelworks. Criscom Steelworks sasa nilifungua tu near to my boss. And you know the challenges, ukifungua kazi karibu ndio your boss, kelele inaanza kukua. So competition between mimi na my boss na the other clients ilianza kuleta mingling between me and him. So I decided kukuja Nairobi hapa. So Nairobi nilipokuja nikafungua hii Kwetu Steel Doctors. Nikafungua ya kwanza ikaanguka. Ya pili ikaanguka. And sikuchoka. The third saa iko sawa, and I have like 43 people.
That are under you.
Under me.
That you've also helped create employment. So you're actually creating employment, as though the president was saying yesterday. But there's something that you've said, Crispin, ulifungua ya kwanza hapa Nairobi ikaanguka, ya pili ikaanguka, now ya tatu ndo sasa ikashika. And I just want to know, what is this that kept you aground? What is this that made you continue having the zeal? Because one challenge you realize with businesses and entrepreneurship, again specifically for young people, is that the first time when it doesn't work, mara pili sipo work, then business is not my thing. And most of us would say, biashara si mkono yangu. But for you, you just kept doing it. What is this that gave you the zeal? Nitaendelea tu.
You know, with me, I do say that mtu achoki. There is a time nilikuwa nimefika mwisho. So nikapiga simu nyumbani, kambia mama, life ya Nairobi imekuwa ngumu, I want to come back home. Unajua obvious mzazi hawezi kataa urudi home. But I sat down nikasema nikienda home naenda tukukaa. Nilikuja Nairobi, people are here in Nairobi, let me struggle. So the thing yenye nafanya ikianguka na amka ni mimi mwenyewe najua ni nini nataka. And mostly I used to tell wale youths, nimefunza wengi, live alone now 43 niko nao now. Niliwaambia mtu hachoki. Nilikuwa najaribu, unapata ni ngumu. Sometimes unajaribu unapata ile pesa client amekupea haitoshi ile venye unataka we mwenyewe, unajua.
Your basic needs not enough.
So you struggle kutoa kitu mzuri such that client aridhike, kesho mwingine akuje. So hii kazi ya jua kali inataka yule mtu achoke. Leo umepata, kesho umekosa. Unaweza kuwa na 2 million now as I'm speaking to you. Kifika jioni hii account hakuna pesa. So it is you kusema I have to go for this. But napenda welding sana.
Napenda welding sana.
Napenda sana.
Do you feel the state has created an enabling environment for this kind of businesses as an SME, for instance? Because the role of the government is policy making, to make sure that the environment is conducive enough for you to do business as a business person, especially ukiangalia upande wako wa the SMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises? Has the state done enough? Do they need to do something more? The environment that you operate on, is it conducive for your kind of business?
You know, with the most, what I can say, it is only that sisi kama youths, saa zingine tunakuja tunalaumu government
sana,
hakuna kazi. Uwezi kaa tu hakuna kazi. Go for it, government will come for you. Like me, Crispin, hakuna siku nitakuja na lala ati hakuna kazi. Nitasema Mungu ataleta kazi because I have kazi kwa mkono yangu. So the reason why I'm saying this, government wawezi kukujua tu ati unangoja. Like me, the government knows me. Nimepata kazi kwa wenye wanafanya kwa government.
You've gotten work from government.
And today I'm here in government.
You've gotten tenders from government.
Yeah.
You know why I ask that, Crispin, is because again, unapata pia kumekuwa na challenge ya, you know, good, especially for us young people, kusema it's very hard to even get tenders in government, and the biggest concern is always that you have to know someone who doesn't know anyone, who knows everyone for you to get that. But you're saying even just as someone from the MSME sector, you've actually had the chance to even work for big government projects. Juu ya kazi yako.
Ya kazi yangu. And I don't siangalia ati government nini. For me, what I look at is the quality of what I want to produce.
Okay.
Because there is a time when sasa still doctor alikuja kujulikana. I just came with the pattern ya gate. Nika join forums. This is a Facebook building forum. Nika join is a home beautiful. So I just went there. Nika post. Buy materials. We do it at your doorstep. And everyone thought that me nilikuwa na workshop by that time. Sikukuwa na workshop. I just did nikiwa kwangu nimekaa kwa nyumba. Buy materials for at your doorstep. So nikaanza kupata calls. Place number yangu pale. Can you do this for me? Yes. But buy materials, we do it at your doorstep. So
you get everything. Me, I'm coming.
I'm coming to prove you at your doorstep. I did that for the last, it was for 3 years. Nikiwa you buy material, I work at your doorstep.
Yes.
So from there ndio sasa nilitengeneza pesa ya kubase na kuleta vitu za kisasa like powder coating machine, CNC laser cut. Sasa hapo ndio nikaanza kushika laini. But kenye imenitoa nje, it is buy material, work at your doorstep. And even I'm doing it.
Even up to now, much as you have your own workshop. So then that orients my next question, Crispin, your marketing. One of the also, I should say, and we'll come to your own challenges momentarily to learn a conversation, but one of also the biggest factors is how to do marketing for these small businesses. Because mara nyingi mtu anasema tu kama duka yangu iko hapa, ni watu wa hapa tu wananijua, but you realize from what you're doing, people beyond across can know your craft because of how you do your marketing. How does your marketing style look like for your business? Now, to what end has it helped you even get more businesses, get more clients? How does your style look like?
The style of adverts that I began with, actually, it is the simplest, I used to say.
Which is?
Because we have Facebook. Like this today, we have the TikTok, we have WhatsApp status. So for me, what helped me mostly, it is those forums, building forums. Because building forums, you used to pay for the subscription. Once you pay, the more you pay.
So the building forums, this is what, like on the digital marketing?
Iko kwa Facebook, on digital Facebook marketing.
Okay.
So pale ndio, you just take your talent pale. Mtu akiona kazi yako, anakuita. So what I can say with me, Facebook imenitoa pale.
Facebook. So leveraging and using the digital applications, digital online marketing.
But you know, most of things here in Kenya, if you post them, they say this is, you've downloaded it from internet. So what I used to do, nilikuwa naenda live kwa video. I just go to kwa Facebook live, naanza use structure. So I'll be keeping updating you first stage, second stage, mpaka hiyo kitu ishe. So hapo ndio utajua this thing is real.
Yeah, because I was to ask you now, how do you deal with those clients who say, "Hey, this one can't be you. We've not seen something like this, in this country." But I mean, when you're saying digital, using the digital platforms, it also just is in concurrence with what the president said yesterday on the celebrations of Labor Day, like looking at one of those key factors that this regime is all about, looking at affordable housing, the digital economy, and looking at how they can use this elements and areas to create employment even for young people, and how they can leverage on that. And look at what you have done. You've created employment for not yourself, but for 43 others.
Yeah, 43 plus.
43 plus.
Yeah, and I still need more.
You're still creating employment.
What I can request Mr. President himself, akuje achukue sisi hapa chini, so that wale wenye wanakaa huko juu, engineers, tuko tu hapa chini, and mtu ukiwa na watu 43 plus, and I still need more, such that yule mwenye ametoka pia aende saidie wengine.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I mean, that's how we can at least help the young people as far as unemployment is concerned. I mean, looking at 5.13 million Kenyan unemployed youths. Unasema kazi iko tu hapa kwa mikono yako.
Iko hapa.
So then talk to me about the challenges of this sector, this industry. What have you dealt with for the past 10 years?
Mostly it has not been easy with online. Because umepatana na mtu kwa Facebook. The big challenge, how to convince yule mtu jamwona stranger.
Yes.
Akuje akuamini ndio umfanyie kazi, hujaimwona. It is hard. Now hiyo challenge imekuwa kwa, unajua kuna wengine wale wa kuchukulia mtu pesa Facebook, anakuambia I can do this. Ukishatumia hiyo pesa
aonekani tena.
Conmen, we call it that. So challenge ya kwanza ni mtu aamini ni wewe umetengeneza hii kitu. Another challenge, it's hiyo kutembea. Umeenda somewhere like Marsabit, Isiolo, unajua huko hakuna power, and the client needs service, so inabidi utafute njia ile utaenda huko ufanye kazi. So I went there nikabuy generator, so that ukiniita to remote area mali kuna stima, service yangu watapata. Another challenge is venye unaweza weka watu 40 pamoja.
The ones under you.
The ones under me.
Yes.
Because unajua saa zingine umekosa, saa zingine umepata. And I usually used to tell my fundis, my colleagues, because mi pia ni fundi. Leo tutapata, kesho tutakosa. So it is me like boss. Ambianga leo kujaenda mzuri, kesho kutakuwa. But tumefika mahali hapo sasa, venye ninaona hapo mbele, tutakuwa tumetoka hapo, government itachukua itufungulie kagodown mahali, tuongeze vijana huko na chape kazi. The third challenge, na hii sasa ndio nightmare.
This is the mother of all challenges for you in this industry.
Umepata client like me, nilifanya gate sema ya president, na kuna mtu anajua, hata sikuwa nimejua ni ya president mwenye ako sahi.
Wewe ulikuwa unafanya tu kazi? Nafanya
tu, kwa unajua umepewa kazi ufanye. So ili uambie mwingine hii gate ni mimi nimetengeneza, it is becoming hard. Atakwambia nipeleke kwa yule ulimtengenezea kwake, aende aone, na aende kwa the same client approve it is you who did that. So hivyo ndio jua kali iko.
So there's lack of believability in our very own. This looks like a big issue, because sometimes when I realize people would even prefer importing these things that you can make. I wonder how you deal with that. Is it just an aspect of convincing, now una convince more often? Because someone would say, this can be here, or they would even just opt to import And all these materials are locally available. And sometimes for us as Kenyans, we feel, okay, let me get it from outside, as opposed to promoting our very own local industries. Yet we want the local industries to grow. So zita grow aje if you can always be willing to get from outside and not from you, someone who's making it.
So the Mali ilikuwa ngumu sana. It is the kind of finishing that I was dreaming for when I was working on sites.
Yeah.
Because on sites, if you're working, you'll just do normal spray. Tuna spray tu ya kawaida. So I went nikasema, what can I do about kuleta wale customer wangu wa believe these things are hizo zenye na import.
Yeah.
I went nikanunua machine ya powder coating machine. Powder coating machine, once umefanya dirisha ama milango, uweke kwa powder coating machine, utoe huko. Ukiambiwa imetengenezwa hapa Kenya, you will not believe. Na tunatengeneza tukimaliza tuna wrap. You will not believe. So I used to tell wale clients niliwafanyia mbeleni, come and see. Come and see. So they said, kumbe it is serious, mnatengeneza hapa. Nikamwambia, if you're not believing, kaa hapa for 3 hours. Nikufanyie hii, nikuwekwe kwa mashini itoke uone. So nowadays they believe. Yeah.
So pole as they continue believing in what you can do.
Yeah.
As we draw to conclude this discussion, Crispin, what is this that you would want young people to know? Because as I said, number ya unemployment continues to increase. Just was it in March when KBS released the statistics, we were looking at 5.3 million. And the number has been increasing since 2019. Now, this is actually out of a total possible of 13 million youths who can be in active employment. But you can imagine, almost 6 million, they are currently unemployed. So you can also imagine how much as a country we are losing because of just that.
But I'm blaming them.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the government.
Okay.
You know, here, you get someone amekuwa graduate. Ameenda mpaka mimi sijasoma, inaitwa university.
Yes.
And I believe hapo tu ndiye atapata kazi. No. Just like I told you. Mimi kwangu nimeajiri wale wamesoma kuniliko. Sometimes they used to guide me, wananiambia do this. But kazi ya mkono, hata kama umepass mzuri na umepata haiwezi work, try kazi ya mkono. Because mimi kazi yangu ya mkono, hakuna siku nitasema nimekosa unless nikisha kufa sasa. But niko na kazi hapa kwa mkono. So I'm trying to tell youths, come out and do what is possible. Usikae tu hapo ukisema ati nimemaliza shule, serikali nipe kazi.
So you come out.
Come out. Kazi ziko mingi, plumbing, electricity, tuko na hii welding yetu tunafanya hivi. Lakini sasa sio ile welding, ile ya kukaa tu bara welding zile mashambani. You upgrade. Hata mimi mahali niko hapa as a steel doctor. Nataka kesho, the more tunasonga, the more ninaleta more designs. Na ninaongeza vijana tukiendelea. But usikae chini ati unasema wewe ulisoma, unangojea kazi. Utangoja kabisa.
Utangoja kabisa. That is Crispin saying. Use your hands for your own good. I mean, you've talked about the welding, plumbing and the likes, and this is also why the Ministry of Education through the State Department for TVET, they have really been so big on trying to promote hizi kazi zenye unasema, because there's beyond what you can do with your books. There's what you can do with your hands, as you say. And employing your expertise and see how we can bring all this together.
But you know, others
for the
will
good
say,
of the country.
Others will say ati nina oppose books.
Yeah.
No, books ni nzuri. But don't rely kwa hiyo books na unaweza fanya kitu.
Na unaweza fanya kitu ingine. I hear you. Thank you very much for your time, Crispin, and just for your valuable inputs, and at least making us understand that indeed MSMEs can thrive. Kama wamefanya kazi kubwa mpaka tender za government. We actually know, at least now we can see that it's true. You can do this. You don't have to know person X, Y, and Z who doesn't know anyone. Who knows everyone.
And I used to say
to do this. You can actually do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to say, hata kama ni government, sitaenda huko kutafuta nini. They will look for me if I do something good.
Because of your work.
Yeah.
I hear you. That has been Crispin Odhiambo, CEO Kwetu Steel, and what has formed the base and center of this discussion is just looking at entrepreneurship on our entrepreneurship segment and just how young people can be able to leverage on some of these chances and opportunities to make something good and better for their lives. Good place to end this conversation, and ultimately, good morning, Kenya, from me. And on behalf of the entire team, asante sana. Till tomorrow, have a good morning. We now sit ground for News Check, coming in next.
I feel like Africa is not taking its space in the global design industry because I see other big brands manipulating our culture and selling it to us as their own, and it's quite sad. They're giving us second-hand goods instead of us giving them the originals. Why don't we